You practice immortality. I cultivate the land. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 751. Holy Infant Fruit Mother Plant Matures. This is of extraordinary significance to him. The high-level spiritual seeds obtained previously were all very accidental, and it was difficult to plant them again after harvesting. Only a few were lucky enough to be collected through the Halao Chamber of Commerce. Now that this 5th grade Pure Yang Golden Lotus has been improved, it means that there will be no such troubles in the future. What to plant, and how much to plant, can be decided by yourself. Of course, there is still a big problem at present, which is the method of condensing the seeds of the Pure Yang Golden Lotus. The method of condensing the seeds of the 5th grade spiritual plants must be many times more complicated than that of the 4th grade spiritual plants. Fortunately, Xuan has mastered the method of condensing the seeds of the Earth Fire Heart Lotus. The two spiritual plants are of the same lineage, and he can learn from them. With his magical ability to master the detailed status of spiritual plants, it should not be a problem to study and explore the method of condensing the seeds of the Pure Yang Golden Lotus. I hope the reward of the light ball after maturity will not disappoint me. Xuan looked at the red lotus seeds in front of him and muttered to himself. The treasures that came out of the 4th grade Earth Fire Heart Lotus light bowl were quite good, so when the Heavenly Sword sect moved away, he specially went to get the method of condensing the seeds of the Earth Fire Heart Lotus and the 5-element fruit, and began to improve it. Now that the improvement has been successful, and this rare Pure Yang Golden Lotus has been obtained, the rewards from the light ball will surely be even more generous. And the 5-element fruit that is being induced and stimulated, I wonder when it will be successfully improved. Xuan thought of the 5-element fruit spirit seeds that were placed in the illusionary 5-element formation and stimulated by the power of the 5-element, and thought secretly. He restrained his thoughts and put his attention back on the remaining red lotus seeds. Unfortunately, among the dozens of spirit seeds, most of them did not change at all. A few of them had a high degree of mutation, but they were still a certain distance away from the 5th grade. Some of them even became waste seeds, and could only be used to feed spirit beasts such as the demon ghost vine and the fire dragon. Xuan continued to put the many lotus seeds that had not changed into the platinum flame, and planted the ones with a high degree of mutation in the spirit field, so as to harvest as many mutant spirit seeds as possible, and shorten the improvement time. He entered the core area of the spiritual field, planted the 5th grade Pure Yang Golden Lotus in the spiritual soil, and then came to the small lake. The Lihuojiao sensed his breath, and the fiery red figure jumped out from the bottom of the lake, flying and spinning around Xuan. The rock-shelled turtle was playing in the distance, rolling layers of mud and sand on its grey-black thick armor. Xuan casually threw a waste seed of the Earth Fire Heart Lotus to the Lihuojiao. Although the waste seed could not take root and sprout, it contained rich fire spirit aura and even a trace of extremely thin pure yang spirit energy, which was a great tonic for the Lihuojiao. It swallowed the red lotus seed in one gulp, and returned to the small lake with a shake of its head. Xuan walked forward for a distance, and came to the area where the ice firefly grass was planted. The ice firefly grass is basically fully mature. He looked at the many blue spiritual herbs in the spiritual field in front of him that exuded an extremely cold aura, and his expression was happy. On the spiritual field, covered with a thin layer of frost, the translucent progress bars were basically full. It would be better to have a few 10 draws. Xuan thought to himself, and the light green light ball in his dantian accelerated its rotation, and strands of greenwood source energy were injected into the ice firefly grass that was about to fully mature. The ice firefly grass was only a 3rd grade spiritual plant, and it was only a hair's breadth away from full maturity. The greenwood source energy consumed was not much. Half a minute later, all the ice fireflies were fully mature. Xuan left 20 plants for seeding, and the remaining 80 plants were for harvesting rewards. He carefully picked the spiritual herbs one by one, and put them into an exquisite jade box. In the perception of spiritual consciousness, white light balls appeared silently one after another, flickering slightly, reflecting the thin ice and frost on the ground more transparently. Lu Xuan's figure flashed and instantly touched the surface of all the light balls. In an instant, more than 80 light balls shattered silently at almost the same time, and countless tiny light points rushed into the sky and turned into a vast expanse of white. Thin and long rivers of light were connected in series and quickly poured into Lu Xuan's body. In an instant, a series of thoughts flashed through his sea of consciousness like a horse-drawn lantern. Harvest a 3rd grade ice firefly grass and gain 3 years of cultivation. Harvest a 3rd grade ice firefly grass and gain the 4th grade treasure ice marrow spirit brew. Harvest. Treasures were either directly presented in front of him or appeared out of thin air in his body and sea of consciousness in the form of cultivation or experience packages. More than 80 light balls, nearly 20 of which brought cultivation rewards, adding more than 70 years of cultivation to me. Lu Xuan felt the surging spiritual power in his body and thought secretly. He activated the Xuanshan Qingwei method, converting the vast amount of spiritual power that impacted his meridians into drops of spiritual liquid, which flowed into the Danshan Qi Sea. The spiritual plants cultivated in just 3 or 4 years are equivalent to my decades of hard practice. What else do I need to practice? Farming is enough. The full spiritual power in his body made Lu Xuan determined to consolidate his idea of farming. Unfortunately, the spiritual power required to break through the realm increases exponentially as time goes by. In addition, my talent is limited, and decades of practice are far behind those favored ones. It can only be a little faster than their normal practice. Lu Xuan sighed leisurely. Among the remaining 60 or so light balls, the treasure rewards are still the familiar ones. The 4th grade treasure Bingpo pill, the 4th grade Bingsuling brew, and the Bingsuling brew recipe experience pack. Although they are relatively ordinary, they are also very considerable when accumulated, and can be exchanged for a large number of spiritual stones. Dozens of consecutive draws made Lu Xuan in a good mood, and he came to the underworld spiritual field. In the Densian Qi, he came to the place where the mother plant of the holy infant fruit was planted. A blue-black shadow of a baby flashed by and flew into the embryo-like spiritual fruit. It seems that it has been well nourished during this period. Lu Xuan felt the extremely dense vitality and yun qi inside the spiritual plant and couldn't help but sigh. After he fed the fruit of the daughter plant to the mother plant, he fed it another one after a while, so that the mother plant's original aura was fully replenished and its vitality became more and more strong. It's fattened up, and it can be slaughtered. Lu Xuan smiled and took out the Shenmue Qinghu. The Shenmue Qinghu can compress and transform the greenwood source energy, making it more effective, which is of infinite benefit to spiritual plants. In order to get as many high-quality mother plant spiritual fruits as possible, he did not hesitate to use the Shenmue Qinghu that had been nurtured for several years. Strands of deep green spiritual energy flowed out of the pot mouth and penetrated into the mother plant of the holy infant fruit. The dark blue shadow of the baby child, originally hidden in the embryo, could not bear the temptation, revealed its body, and absorbed this extremely pure plant spiritual energy. After half an hour, Lu Xuan looked at the progress bar that was fully drawn under the mother plant, nodded, and put away the emerald green pot. Then, he carefully picked the embryo-shaped spiritual fruit. The spiritual fruit seemed to contain a trace of consciousness. Feeling threatened, a dark blue shadow of a child emerged, staring at Lu Xuan with sunken eyes, full of resentment. Strands of dark blue spiritual energy escaped and wrapped around Lu Xuan's palm. Lu Xuan was unmoved. His palm turned into red gold. The dark blue spiritual energy suddenly disappeared, and the shadow of the child disappeared. The high-quality mother plant of the holy infant fruit has hope of incarnation. Lu Xuan's mind was focused on the embryo-shaped spiritual fruit, and joy appeared in his eyes. Chapter 752, The Holy Spirit Infant Method. Holy infant fruit, a 5th grade spiritual fruit, of superior quality, planted in an environment of yin energy and yin soil, cultivated with the essence, blood, soul, and resentment of infants. After taking it, it can enhance spiritual consciousness, and is also the main material for refining holy infant pills. During the growth stage, the mother plant devours 2 spiritual fruits of the daughter plants, and at the same time, ripens them with a large amount of pure plant spiritual energy, so that the quality of the spiritual fruit reaches a superior level, and with the help of secret methods, it can be refined into an external incarnation. Sure enough, Lu Xuan nodded gently, and then his eyes fell on the white light ball that emerged. The main materials for the incarnation are already there. As for the secret method of refining, light ball, help me. With strong expectations in his heart, he gently touched the surface of the light ball with the most gentle gesture. In an instant, the light ball silently shattered and turned into tiny light spots all over the sky. The light spots quickly condensed into a virtual shadow of an ancient picture and instantly sank into Lu Xuan's body. At the same time, a thought flashed through his sea of consciousness. Harvest a 5th grade holy infant fruit. Obtain the 7th grade secret method spirit infant holy evolution method incomplete. The thought disappeared, and a grey-black ancient map appeared in front of Lu Xuan. A dark light surged from the ancient map, and thousands of ferocious infants were drawn on it. The infants were either laughing or in pain, with all kinds of expressions. They were originally cute, but with their ferocious faces, they looked gloomy and resentful. Lu Xuan's mind was focused on the grey-black ancient map in front of him, and he instantly understood its detailed information. The Spirit Infant Holy Evolution Method, a broken 7th grade secret method, came from the ancient evil sect Xuan sect, and recorded a secret method for refining an external incarnation. This secret method can use certain external objects to refine a simple external incarnation. The incarnation's strength, qualifications, and intelligence are determined by the external objects and the cultivator. The 7th grade secret method, although it is a broken product, it just happens to have the incarnation refining method I need. It's worthy of being a light ball, Lu Xuan exclaimed. He never thought that the 5th grade holy infant fruit could produce this broken 7th grade secret method. As for the secret method that can be used to refine an incarnation, there are clues to follow. After all, the superior saint infant fruit has such an effect. It is natural to open the corresponding secret method from the light ball. I'm sleepy, please bring me a pillow. Lu Xuan was very satisfied with this treasure, and his spiritual consciousness probed into it. The thousands of infants on the ancient map moved slightly, and a wisp of pure yin energy penetrated into his sea of consciousness from the ancient map, followed by a huge amount of information. How to separate a wisp of spirit from the body, how to integrate the spirit with the incarnation, and the method of refining the incarnation of different treasures. Lu Xuan absorbed it for a long time, opened his eyes, and took a deep breath. It is worthy of being a secret method from the ancient evil sect. It can actually enable cultivators to refine an incarnation outside the body at the stage of forming a pill. According to the secret method recorded on the ancient map, he can refine this superior saint infant fruit into a simplified version of the incarnation outside the body. The incarnation has a certain degree of independent consciousness and is closely related to the original body, but is absolutely controlled by the original body. At the same time, it has different strengths and talents according to the grade and type of the treasure. Once the incarnation perishes, the original body's soul will be traumatized. Generally speaking, only when you reach the nascent soul realm can you have the skills and abilities to refine an incarnation. If you reach the spiritualization realm, you can easily differentiate into a true external incarnation. Such an incarnation has a completely independent consciousness and can explore secret realms, fight, and practice independently. However, if the original body is damaged, the realm falls, or the incarnation gets a great opportunity and its strength exceeds that of the original body, there is a risk of turning the tables. And this castrated version of the incarnation refined by the Spirit Infant Holy Evolution method does not have the magical powers of a true external incarnation. Its strength depends on the treasure. It only has a certain degree of independent consciousness, so there is no need to worry about it taking over the magpie's nest. It can be said that there are gains and losses, Lu Xuan said secretly. After learning about this secret method of refining an incarnation in detail, he had the idea of trying it. He followed the method of soul division recorded in the secret method, separated a strand of his soul, and merged it into the superior holy infant fruit in front of him. Indistinctly, he could feel a faint connection between them. The next step is to sacrifice and refine it into an incarnation, Lu Xuan thought to himself. In the next 2 months, in addition to cultivating spiritual plants, he focused all his mind on the holy infant fruit, and used his soul and spiritual consciousness to nourish the embryo spiritual fruit every day. Finally, it was successfully refined. Lu Xuan looked at the spiritual fruit in front of him, which had changed a lot, and breathed a sigh of relief. Compared with the vague form, when he picked it before, the holy infant fruit has completely transformed into a delicate little man. His facial features are about 70% similar to Lu Xuan, but it exudes a faint cold aura, which looks a bit evil. He followed the secret method, and his mind connected with the spiritual fruit incarnation. As soon as his mind moved, the incarnation continued to expand. In a few breaths, it grew to the same height as him, and his body shape and appearance were almost the same as his. Fellow Taoist, Lu Xuan greeted softly. Fellow Daoist. The eyes of the spirit fruit incarnation suddenly brightened up, and he saluted. Is this the incarnation outside the body? Lu Xuan looked at the replica of himself in front of him, feeling a little weird and a little wonderful. With a thought, the spirit fruit incarnation in front of him made various behaviors according to his thoughts, completely controlled by his thoughts. With his continuous orders and training, the spirit fruit incarnation became more and more agile, and entered the spirit field, to patrol on its own. The young thunder dragon beast approached as usual, as if it had noticed something, and kept turning around the incarnation. It looked at the incarnation's appearance, with a puzzled look in its eyes, and kept sniffing. Its autonomous consciousness is not very high, but it can be slowly trained. It is considered a high-level puppet with a high level of intelligence. Lu Xuan observed secretly. He kept conducting experiments and explorations, and found that the closer the spirit fruit incarnation was to him, the more freely he could control it. When it was dozens or hundreds of miles away, the control ability was greatly reduced. The incarnation has a body that is no different from that of an ordinary person. Its spiritual power is probably in the early stage of forming a pill, and its spiritual consciousness is relatively weak. I don't know if it is because it is made of the holy infant fruit, but there is a strong and pure yin qi in its body, and it can also absorb the yin spiritual energy in the spiritual field of the netherworld. It does have a good talent for evil ways, and is a natural embryo for evil cultivation. Lu Xuan looked at the spiritual fruit incarnation walking towards him, and a smile appeared on his face. It just so happens that the rewards of the skills and supernatural powers from those evil spiritual plants can be given to this incarnation to practice. He thought secretly. He currently has 3 high-quality evil skills: Blood Nerve and Netherworld True Water Forbidden Law, as well as Soul Binding Sutra, as well as evil treasures such as Yin Sha Bottle, Taine Wooden Box, Multi-Armed Corpse Slave, etc., which can be distributed to this incarnation to enhance its strength. After all, he is just an ordinary spiritual plant master who is not good at fighting. He must be kind to others, and carry out his personality to the end. Right now there is one important thing that needs to be proven, that is, whether the spiritual plants cultivated by this incarnation can produce light balls as rewards. If so, will it affect the grade of the rewards? Lu Xuan thought to himself. Chapter 753 Clearing Inventory. The main reason why he went through so much trouble to refine this spiritual fruit incarnation was that the number of spiritual plants in the cave was increasing, and the grade was getting higher and higher, so there was not enough space to keep those evil spiritual plants. In addition, the spiritual energy environment required by the 2 types of spiritual plants was completely different. If the yin qi and resentment in the underworld spiritual field leaked into other spiritual fields, it might affect the growth of other spiritual plants. Therefore, he had the idea of opening a new cave in Fingyu Star Cave. The new cave is mainly used to cultivate those evil spiritual plants in the underworld spiritual field. The spiritual fruit incarnation guards that cave and cultivates evil spiritual plants on behalf of Lu Xuan. Of course, it is also necessary to verify whether the spiritual plants cultivated by the incarnation will be affected by the light ball reward. Although he roughly knew that the spiritual plants would also have light balls when they matured, he was afraid that if there were no light balls, then the value of this incarnation to him would be reduced a lot. Thinking of this, he taught the spiritual rain technique, wood growth technique and other techniques to the incarnation. These are just some basic techniques, grade 1, and with the incarnation's talent, he quickly learned several techniques for cultivating spiritual plants. Then, he took out 3 slender spiritual seeds from the storage bag, the place where the dream began. Lu Xuan looked at the spiritual seeds in front of him, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. The spiritual seeds were the first grade spiritual firefly grass, which had been eliminated due to its extremely low reward. When he was still a small casual cultivator practicing Ki, he harvested the first white light bowl from it and began his career as a spiritual planter, so he kept some spiritual seeds as a souvenir. The incarnation took the spiritual seeds of the spiritual firefly grass and performed a slightly awkward earth drawing technique to plant the spiritual seeds in the spiritual soil. Then, a cloud of air surged above the spiritual seeds, and strands of spiritual rain seeped into the spiritual seeds. Under the pure and rich spiritual energy of the cave and the nourishment of the Wu spiritual soil, coupled with the incarnation's tireless use of the wood growing technique and the spiritual rain technique, the maturity period of the first grade spiritual firefly grass was greatly shortened, and it was fully mature in less than 10 days. After the spiritual firefly grass matured, Xuan asked the incarnation to stand aside, walk to the front of the spiritual plant, and carefully pulled the 3 slender spiritual grasses out of the spiritual soil. 3 white balls of light quietly appeared at the location of the firefly grass. Got it. Xuan was overjoyed. The spiritual plants cultivated by the incarnation would also have light balls as rewards, which made him feel more at ease. By the way, harvest some. The ball of light was right under his eyes, so Xuan naturally didn't want to miss it, and reached out to touch the surface of the ball of light gently. Harvest a first grade firefly grass, and gain 3 days of cultivation. Harvest 3 white balls of light, bringing him 3 days of cultivation, and 2 inferior first grade talismans to exorcise evil spirits. TSK. Fortunately, the firefly grass has been improved into the 3rd grade ice firefly grass. Otherwise, after working hard to cultivate it for a long time, I only got a few days of cultivation, and I would vomit blood and die. Xuan just felt funny in his heart. At his current mid-stage Jiandan realm, if he downgraded the cultivation of spiritual plants, the light ball rewards would be greatly reduced, and he would not even look at the things that the first grade firefly grass had dropped on the ground. It's good that the experiment was successful. I can rest assured to let the incarnation cultivate those evil spiritual plants in the future. He engraved a thought into the incarnation. Any spiritual plants, when mature, must be picked by the original body himself, and he only needs to cultivate them. Before transplanting those evil spiritual plants, you have to go to the star picking tower as an incarnation and rent, or buy a cave in Fingyuan Star Cave. Xuan planned to completely separate the incarnation, so that it can play a key role at certain times. Naturally, the original body would not rent, or buy a cave. If the price is right, you can also buy a cave directly. With the grocery store, a steady stream of spiritual stones entered his pocket, plus the many treasures he harvested. He was not as embarrassed as when he first entered the Liang realm, and buying a cave was not a problem. By the way, go to the grocery store and the branch building of the Chamber of Commerce to have a look. Xuan thought, and the body of the spiritual fruit incarnation gradually dissipated, and a group of black mist kept changing, becoming a strange spiritual fruit with a shape and appearance very similar to his. He put away the spiritual fruit incarnation, told the grass puppet and the spirit beasts to watch over the cave, opened the mysterious crystal formation, and headed for the star picking tower. On the remote street, the grocery store in the corner looked extremely inconspicuous. Although there were not many cultivators entering it, they were basically all foundation building cultivators, each with a deep aura and good cultivation. After Xuan and other cultivators in the store left, he stepped into the store. "Senior, you are here." When Xuan, who had a calm and honest face, noticed Xuan's aura and suddenly raised his head with a look of joy. "Well, come and take a look, and bring some goods by the way," Xuan said with a smile, and with a sweep of his spiritual consciousness, he saw at a glance that when Xuan had broken through to the foundation building realm. "Congratulations on your promotion to the foundation building realm. Here is a 4th grade dust cleansing pill that can remove evil auras and weaken the harm of evil spirits. It will be a gift for your promotion to the foundation building realm." He took out a pill with clear light from his storage bag and handed it to Wen Xuan. Thank you senior." Wen Xuan had dealt with Xuan many times before, and he knew that refusing would only make the other party unhappy. He took the dust purifying pill with both hands and nodded his head in gratitude. The 4th grade dust purifying pill was a rare treasure even in the eyes of the cultivators in the middle and late stages of the foundation building. He didn't expect that he could get one so easily. Now that you have broken through to the foundation building stage, it is a bit unfair for you to stay in such a small shop. Are you still willing to be my agent for this shop? Xuan asked indifferently. Junior is willing to follow you forever. Serve you like a dog and a horse. When Xuan heard this, and immediately knelt on one knee, expressing his attitude to Xuan in sincere words. He had already seen the pros and cons clearly. Although he was a cultivator of the Wen family, one of the major families in the Chamber of Commerce, he was only a side branch, with average talent, and was not valued. But with Xuan, he could not only get a good salary every month, but also get various rare treasures from time to time, if he performed well. For example, this 4th grade dust purifying pill was not easy to obtain even for the direct descendants of the family. How could he give up such a good opportunity, just to advance to the foundation building stage? Okay, then I'll leave the store to you to manage. I won't treat you unfairly, Xuan said with a smile. When Xuan was completely relieved, and expressed his gratitude again. The treasures I brought here for sale this time include some 3rd and 4th grade spiritual fruits, talismans, and elixirs, as well as some 5th grade materials. Xuan took out various things from his storage bag one by one. Among them, the most popular 4th grade sword talismans and 3rd grade foundation building pills in the grocery store were naturally indispensable. He also brought some 4th grade ice marrow spirit wine and jade washing spirit dew, as well as other miscellaneous things. 5th grade materials? What kind of treasures are they? When Xuan asked curiously. It's called Thunder Death Crystal. It was accidentally obtained from a secret realm. It can assist in practicing thunder magic and refining corresponding magic tools. I came here this time just to clean up. No, I'm reluctantly selling a few kilograms. Xuan almost revealed his true thoughts. He got hundreds of kilograms of Thunder Death Crystal from the Greenhorn Thunder Sea, so he naturally had to sell some. However, things are valuable because they are scarce, so in fact, to clear out the inventory, he meant to give them up reluctantly. Chapter 754, Unexpected Spiritual Seed. There is a grocery store. When Xuan opened the door of the shop early in the morning, glanced over casually, and saw several monks waiting outside the door. Several fellow Taoists came very early today. He greeted with a smile. There are often several kinds of treasures that are in short supply in grocery stores. Once they are put on the shelves, many monks compete for them. Gradually, some monks discovered the pattern of the store. Every morning, when they lived nearby, or happened to be passing by, they would come to the grocery store to see if they would be lucky enough to find some kind of rare treasure. Master Wen, will there be any new treasures today? A young monk shouted loudly. I will not disappoint fellow Taoists. The 12 newly arrived 4th grade sword talismans are still the same types that appeared previously. First come, first served. In addition, there is a new 5th grade treasure today. Several Taoists, if you are willing but not able, you can help spread the word more. When Gan opened the store door, revealing a variety of new treasures inside. More than a dozen sword talismans are neatly placed on the shelves. Each one contains a powerful sword power, which can be regarded as the treasure of the current grocery store. What attracted several monks was a blue spar in the middle. The spar had a bright aura and a faint flash of blue thunder. It was quite extraordinary at first glance. Is this a 5th grade material? This is the first time I've seen it. A pretty woman in the middle stage of foundation building asked doubtfully. This object is called the Thunder Death Crystal. It is a special crystal that condenses the essence of high-level monsters and pure thunder. It can be used to assist in the practice of thunder magic and to refine high-level thunder magic weapons. Death crystal? I once heard it mentioned by an elder in the clan that it was extremely difficult to obtain, but I didn't expect it to be this treasure. A tall young man suddenly realized it and looked at the uneven Thunder Death Crystal in the cabinet with a flash in his eyes. A touch of fanaticism. Shopkeeper Wen, how much does this Thunder Death Crystal cost? 6,000 low-grade spiritual stones per kilogram. Sold individually, no bargaining. When Xuan said with a smile. He wanted to sell the Thunder Death Crystal separately, but Xuan was not here, and he did not have the ability to divide it, so he had to make this decision. 6,000 spiritual stones per pound? How much can 1 pound cost? Isn't this too expensive? The people who entered the store were all foundation building monks. They all exclaimed when they heard the price quoted by Wen Qian. In a flash of thought, I came back to my senses. This is a 5th grade rare material. It is not surprising that the price is so high. A few people had no choice but to feast their eyes. Each picked 1 or 2 suitable treasures in the store and left in a hurry. In this way, the news spread like wildfire about the sale of a 5th grade rare Thunder Death crystal in the grocery store, attracting the attention of many monks. Soon, several foundation building perfection monks rushed over. Fellow literary Daoist, you are not very kind. There are new treasures in the store. Why don't you inform my old friend? An old man entered the store first and said loudly. Having said that, there was no blame or complaint in his tone, and his attention was completely attracted by the Thunder Death crystal. It is indeed a Thunder Death crystal, and it is quite small. It is said that this treasure only appears on high-level thunder beasts that are about to die. It is extremely rare. I didn't expect to see one here. Fellow Taoist Wen, what happened last time? I just missed a piece of 5th grade Xuan gang armor. This time you have to give it up to me. This piece of Thunder Death crystal. The technique I practice is exactly related to it. I have made no progress over the years, and now I have this piece. Lei Sijing can definitely break through the bottleneck and take a step further. Several people said to Wen Qian with great enthusiasm. Wen Qian was used to being surrounded by so many high-level monks whose cultivation was far better than his own, so he smiled helplessly. Fellow Taoists, please don't worry. There is only 1 Thunder Death crystal. Whoever gets it will have to use the old method, drawing lots. To be fair, we have no choice but to detect spiritual senses and cannot use pupil skills. He took out a sealed magic weapon, a solid wooden box. Hey, I got it. I got it. An old man who had perfected the foundation establishment shouted in surprise. Congratulations to fellow Daoist Zhang. Several others expressed their congratulations to the old man. Wait a minute. Suddenly, a clear voice came from everyone's ears, and before the words could be heard, a white light poured into the grocery store at the speed of lightning. A handsome young man appeared in front of everyone. The young man has a deep aura and possesses the early stage of pill formation. I'm Rendang of the Xuan Lei sect. I happen to be passing by here. I heard that there is a piece of Thunder Death crystal for sale here. I wonder if this fellow Taoist can give it to me, he asked the old man with a smile. I have met Senior Ren of Xuan Lei sect. This Thunder Death crystal is of great use to this junior. I got it by chance. Please forgive me for not transferring it. The old man bent down and saluted, but his tone was extremely firm. Oh. Can't I buy it from you at a higher price? The handsome young man asked with a smile. The old man shook his head without hesitation. When the young man saw this, his smile faded, and the shop was filled with a faint spiritual pressure. Being rejected one after another by a foundation building monk, he couldn't help but feel a little annoyed. But he also knew that this was the star-reaching tower of the Xiangxing cave headquarters, and if anything happened, it would be difficult to escape safely. Are you the shop owner? Do you still have those Thunder Death crystals in your shop? I want as many as I want. He turned to Wen Qian and asked. Wen Qian replied in a neither humble nor overbearing tone. Senior, I'm just managing this store on my behalf. There's another owner. Oh. Who is it? It's the guest of the Hailao Merchant Association, Master Lu Xuan Lu. Wen Qian was calm and composed answer. Hailao Merchant Association guest? Upon hearing this, the handsome young man's aura immediately weakened a bit, and his expression was thoughtful. The strength of the Hailao Chamber of Commerce in Liang is second only to Liang Dao sect. Compared with the Xuan Lei sect where he was born, it is much stronger. The owner behind this shop is a guest of the Chamber of Commerce, so his status is naturally respected, even if it is Xuan Lei sect. The head of the sect should also be treated with courtesy, let alone himself who is just an ordinary elder. It turns out that this property is in the name of Master Lu Xuan Lu, but I have been reckless. I wonder if Master Lu still has the Thunder Death crystal in his hands. This kind of treasure is of great use to me, and I'm willing to pay any price to get it from Master Lu. His tone became a little more polite without realizing it. I'm not sure about this junior. When Xuan thought of the scene, when Lu Xuan handed the Thunder Death Crystal to him. Although he roughly guessed that Lu Xuan still had a lot in his hands, he didn't dare to make a rash decision. Suddenly, he had an idea. To be honest, Senior Lu is proficient in spiritual planting, and he particularly likes various high-level rare spiritual species. If Senior has any high-level spiritual species in his hand, I can contact Master Lu on behalf of Senior. High-level spiritual species? I have it. There is indeed one of them. It is a 6th grade spiritual species. Maybe Master Lu will be somewhat interested. The handsome young man said slowly. Junior will contact Senior Lu now, but I can't guarantee that Senior Lu still has the Thunder Death Crystal you need. When Xuan said hurriedly, he knew Lu Xuan's itinerary quite well, and knew that he would be processing souls in the branch building of the Chamber of Commerce at this moment. He related chores and quickly punched out a messenger talisman. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 755 Ancestral Coffin. The 4th floor of the Chamber of Commerce. In the quiet and elegant room, Lu Xuan leisurely tasted the spiritual tea in the cup. Friend Daoist Wen, I have to ask you to pay more attention to the treasures I just mentioned in the future. He smiled and said to Master Wen next to him. The still charming female cultivator surnamed Wen nodded quickly. Junior must keep this in mind. Once the treasures needed by seniors are found in the branch building, contact seniors or Wen Xuan as soon as possible. Okay. Lu Xuan nodded lightly. After handling some chores in the branch building, he asked the female cultivator surnamed Wen who came over to say hello to pay more attention to the seed condensation methods, yin and yang treasures, and spiritual seeds that appeared in the Chamber of Commerce. Needless to say, he had needs for all high-level spiritual seeds. When he was about to go to Zay Crossing Tower to rent a cave in Fengyuan Star Cave, he suddenly noticed a familiar aura. Wen Xuan's communication talisman. What does he want from me? Lu Xuan was confused and brought the communication talisman to him. It turns out there is news about a 6th grade spiritual species. After learning the message inside the talisman, a smile appeared on Lu Xuan's face. I didn't expect that the Thunder Death Crystal could bring me such unexpected gains. Xuanli sect, if I remember correctly, it should be a small and medium-sized sect in Liang. The leader is a late-stage pill-forming monk. There are several elders in the realm of pill formation in the sect, and the monks in the sect are good at thunder magic, and their overall strength is pretty good. He recalled the information about the Xuanli sect in his mind. After entering the Liang realm for decades, although he had never left the Xiangxing cave, Lu Xuan still took the initiative to learn a lot of relevant information about the cultivation world and the territory, which naturally included the Xuanli sect mentioned by Wengan. Go over and have a look. The spirit seed was very attractive to him. He used the floating shadow technique, and his body turned into afterimages. After dozens of breaths, he came outside the grocery store. Senior Lu, this is Master Rendangren from Xuanli sect. Wengan spotted him, enthusiastically welcomed him into the store, and introduced him to a handsome young man in the store. It turns out to be fellow Daoist Ren. I'm glad to meet you. I've met fellow Daoist Lu, and I've admired fellow Daoist's name for a long time. A hint of vague surprise flashed in Rendang's eyes. Lu Xuan was younger than he thought. Being able to serve as a guest of the Halao Merchant Association at such a young age means that he has a transcendent status in some aspects. It's probably the spiritual plant. He thought to himself, raised his head, and looked at Lu Xuan with a smile. Fellow Daoist Lu, I'm very sorry to bother you during my busy schedule. The reason why I invited you here is to ask you if you still have some Thunder Death crystals left in your hands. He looked at Lu. There was a bit of expectation in Xuan's eyes. There's still a little bit left. Lu Xuan's spiritual consciousness swept through the mountains of Thunder Death crystals in the gluttonous sack and said calmly, that's great. A look of ecstasy appeared on Renang's face. I heard that fellow Daoist Lu likes to collect all kinds of high-level rare spiritual species. I happen to have one in my hand. I wonder if I can exchange it with fellow Daoist for some Thunder Death crystals? he said slowly, and a strange spiritual species appeared in his hand. The spirit seed is jet black, with a faint light constantly appearing on the surface. It is in the shape of a long strip, about 3 inches long. At first glance, it might seem like an exquisite coffin. Fellow Daoist Ren, is this thing in your hand really a spiritual seed? Lu Xuan asked doubtfully. Although they were both planted in the ground, he could still clearly distinguish the spiritual seed from the coffin. It is indeed a spiritual seed. Fellow Daoist Lu can use his spiritual sense to detect it. With fellow Taoist spiritual plant attainments, he can naturally discover the rich vitality contained in it. If my prediction is correct, it should be a 6th grade spiritual seed, but it is quite its because of the evil, and I'm ignorant and unable to identify the specific species. Seeing Lu Xuan's doubts, the handsome young man said quickly. Lu Xuan took the coffin with some doubts, and carefully explored every detail with his spiritual sense. There is a special substance contained in the spiritual seed, which is both evil and vitality. The two are very cleverly integrated together. What fellow Taoist said is indeed true, but I still need to confirm it thoroughly. If this thing can adapt to the spiritual soil, and can be cultivated with spiritual planting techniques, then we can be completely sure. Lu Xuan was half truth and half false said, his purpose is naturally, to learn the specific information of the spiritual seed, and the reason why he said this is just to find a suitable reason. Hearing this, Rendong expressed no objection, and allowed Lu Xuan to try as he pleased. Lu Xuan took out a portion of Wuling soil from the storage bag, spread it evenly on the ground, and then put the coffin-shaped spiritual seeds into the spiritual soil. He pretended to cast a spiritual rain spell, but his mind was focused on the strange spiritual seeds in the Wuling soil. Suddenly, a thought emerged in his sea of consciousness. The ancestral coffin, a 6th grade spiritual plant, needs to grow in flesh and blood spiritual soil, and be nourished with yin objects or flesh and blood. During the growth stage, the spiritual plant will continuously absorb yin energy and flesh and blood, and breed an evil space inside it. The fully mature ancestral coffin has a very strong spirit gathering effect. Evil cultivators entering it to practice will get twice the result with half the effort, and make rapid progress. You raise me to grow up, and I will raise you to die, okay? It is indeed a 6th grade evil spirit plant. The underworld spirit field has added another general. Lu Xuan took out the coffin-shaped spirit plant from the spiritual soil, and handed it back to the handsome young man. What do you think, fellow Daoist Lu? It is indeed a high-level spiritual seed. Lu Xuan replied calmly. I wonder how many thunder death crystals you still have in your hands. The handsome young man asked in a deep voice. About 12 kilograms. Lu Xuan noticed the young man's urgent need for thunder death crystal, and casually said a number. 12 kilograms is a little less. If you are refining a magic weapon, you must ensure the success rate, otherwise it may result in failure. The young man frowned slightly. Fellow Daoist Ren, although your spiritual seed is of the 6th grade, whether it is the variety or the cultivation method, everything is unknown. The exchange of 12 kilograms of thunder death crystals for the spiritual seed is not much different. Lu Xuan said with a smile. Okay, then let's exchange it with fellow Taoist Lu. Rendong knew that what Lu Xuan said was somewhat true. In addition, he was in urgent need of the thunder death crystal, and didn't care about the loss of the spiritual stone, so he readily agreed. The value of this thunder death crystal is somewhat beyond my expectation. Lu Xuan watched Rendong disappear, looked down at the coffin-shaped spiritual seed in his hand, and couldn't help but sigh. He entered the territory of the Thunder Beast several times, and cleaned up the waning green-horned Thunder Beast several times, accumulating hundreds of kilograms of Thunder Death crystals. If you just exchange spiritual stones, you can get millions of low-grade spiritual stones. Intermediate magic weapons are nothing more than that. 7th grade blue-horned lacy, so terrifying. It's a pity that it can only be cleared for the first time. The number of Thunder Death crystals is the largest, and the weight obtained in the next one is drastically reduced. He said with some regret. Well, I have to visit Senior King Jiaolisi when I have the opportunity, and clean up the newly grown Thunder Death crystals for him. Nothing else, just to make it more comfortable. Lu Xuan thought secretly in his heart. He said, feeling a little more grateful to the strange beast lacy in his heart. Chapter 756, The Cave of the Filthy Sheep Mountain. After collecting the spirit seeds of the ancestral coffin, Xuan found an unmanned corner and casually set up a ban. With a thought, a human-shaped spirit fruit flashed out, and in an instant it turned into another him. It's better to change my appearance, Xuan thought to himself, and put the thousand-handed strange mask on the face of the incarnation. In an instant, he changed into a young monk with ordinary appearance and gloomy temperament. The spirit fruit incarnation. From now on, I will call it Lingu. A realistic and natural smile appeared on the face of the incarnation. Xuan planned to separate the original body and the incarnation as much as possible, so that others would not know the connection between the two. After a little arrangement, he and the incarnation entered the Zigzag Tower one after the other, and came to the hall outside the rental and purchase cave. The incarnation went directly to the depths of the hall, while he stayed outside, walking leisurely, pretending to observe some things around him, but actually secretly controlling the incarnation's every move. Fellow Daoist, what can I do for you? As soon as the incarnation entered the hall, it attracted the attention of a giant and Zenran. He flashed in front of the incarnation, and greeted him warmly. I want to rent or buy a suitable cave in Xiangxing Cave, Lingu said hoarsely. Xuan, who was not far away, shook his head secretly. The cultivation world still speaks with strength. When I came to rent a cave for the first time, the giant and cultivator in the hall didn't even look at me. This time when the incarnation came, he came out to greet me warmly. He couldn't help but sigh, and his mind continued to focus on the incarnation. Oh, rent or buy a cave? Welcome to settle in Xiangxing Cave. What's your name? Lingu. The gloomy young man said slowly. So it's fellow Daoistling. I wonder what your requirements are for cave dwellings. Xiangxing Cave can satisfy them. Each of the 18-star caves has its own unique cave world, each with its own magic, containing various spiritual veins, treasures, secret realms, etc. In addition to cultivation, it can also meet fellow Daoists' requirements for refining tools and alchemy. The giant and cultivator in Xiangxing Cave introduced to the incarnation with a smile. I need a cave dwelling with rich yin energy for cultivation, Lingu said simply. Rich yin energy. The most suitable one is Fingyuan Star Cave. There are multiple yin realms inside, and many left-handed cultivators live in various layers of the Star Cave. Fellow Daoistling can communicate and exchange ideas with them when the time comes. Okay, then Fingyuan Star Cave. Xuan had already chosen Fingyuan Star Cave before, and even sneaked into it himself to find several suitable locations. The incarnation immediately nodded in agreement. The Fingyuan Star Cave is divided into 7 layers. You can choose any empty location from the 1st to the 5th layer to build a cave. Most giant and Zenran are distributed on the 4th and 5th layers. The yin ki there is more concentrated and pure, which is suitable for cultivation. There are also a lot of secret realms, and it is easier to get various opportunities and treasures. The Xiangxing Cave cultivator suggested. Okay. Lingu nodded gently. Fellow Daoistling, this jade book records the situation of the 4th and 5th layers of the Fingyuan Star Cave in detail. The red areas represent that they have been occupied by other cultivators, the blue areas represent vacant areas, and the green areas will expire in the next few years. In addition, there are many grey areas in the Fingyuan Star Cave, which means that there are secret realms or dangerous places inside. There is a certain degree of danger, and it is not suitable for building a cave. Fellow Daoistling, please pay attention to it. If you want to know more about a certain location, you can get the corresponding information by infiltrating your spiritual consciousness into it. Lingu did not reply, but slowly flipped through the jade book, occasionally exploring it in detail with his spiritual consciousness. Choose this cave near the Huayang Mountain. He pointed to a cave located on the periphery of the strange mountain range on the jade book, and said in a hoarse voice. The last time Xuan entered Fingyuan Star Cave, he had chosen this cave house on the outskirts of Huayang Mountain as a backup. The yin ki of that mountain is extremely dense and pure. The cave house is located in a remote location. There are not many giant and Zenran living around it. It is a place for pure cultivation. There are also several evil secret realms deep in the mountains. It is very convenient to collect blood and flesh or evil spirits, and there is no need to worry about those evil spirit plants not being fully cultivated. Fellow Daoistling has a good vision. Wuoyang Mountain is a top-notch place for cultivation. The density of Yunqi is among the top and the 5th layer. This cave house is just right for Daoist friends to practice in seclusion. How much is a monthly rent for the cave house? Lingu asked in a deep voice. 3,200 low-grade spirit stones per month. If the rental period exceeds 10 years and the spirit stones are paid in one lump sum, there will be a great discount. The giant and cultivator of Xiangxing Cave said with a smile. So cheap. Lu Xuan muttered secretly. When he first rented the Li Huaxing cave house, the price was 200 spirit stones lower, but it was very painful to spend most of his wealth to rent it for 10 years. But now, he is wealthy and doesn't care about the rent. A sword talisman can easily rent it for at least 2 months. Today is different from the past. He sighed in his heart and controlled the incarnation to ask, how many spirit stones do you need to buy that cave? 3.5 million low-grade spirit stones, and the cave will belong to you, brotherling. When the Xiangxing cave cultivator heard the incarnation's question, his eyes lit up, and he said quickly, it's almost equivalent to renting it for 100 years. I was promoted to the middle stage of giant and very quickly, in just over 50 years, and my lifespan is long. At the same time, because of the light ball, I can expect to reach the nascent soul or even the god transformation. It's more cost effective to buy it directly. The most important thing is that it seems to be quite cheap. Lu Xuan made a preliminary estimate of his current wealth and had the idea of not taking more than 3 million low-grade spirit stones seriously. Okay, then I'll buy that cave. The incarnation Lingu said expressionlessly. Thank you, fellow Daoistling. Here is the high-level Fingyuan token of Fingyuan Star Cave. If you buy it directly, you can enjoy many privileges of Fingyuan Star Cave, and you can be better protected by Xiangxing Cave. At the same time, you are also qualified to enter the 7th floor of Fingyuan Star Cave for exploration. The face of the Xiangxing Cave cultivator was full of smiles, and his attitude became more enthusiastic. He was able to earn such a large amount of spiritual stones for Xiangxing Cave, and he benefited a lot from it. The spiritual stones are here, fellow Daoist, take a look. Lingu waved his hand casually, and a pile of medium-grade spiritual stones like a small mountain appeared directly in front of the cultivator, full of spiritual light, filling every corner of the hall, attracting many cultivators' curious eyes. No problem. The Xiangxing Cave cultivator's spiritual consciousness swept over, carefully collected many medium-grade spiritual stones, and enthusiastically sent the incarnation Lingu to the door of the hall. After the incarnation left, Lu Xuan restrained his cultivation and applied for a simple version of Fingyuan token at a window in the hall. With this token, he could stay in Fingyuan Star Cave for a short period of time and at the same time, explore most of the secret realms in the Star Cave. Okay, the new cave is in hand. Before going to Fingyuan Star Cave, we have to transplant those evil spiritual plants and spiritual pets in the cave, as well as the protective formation, flesh spirit gods, etc. Lu Xuan thought secretly in his heart, and flew into the boundless thunder and fire with his incarnation, one after the other. Chapter 757, Inhumanity. It's time to transplant these evil spirit plants. Lu Xuan stood in the underworld spiritual field area, looking at the many evil spirit plants inside, feeling a lot of emotion. The incarnation Lingu stayed quietly behind him, without saying a word. Fortunately, there is the space treasure of the gluttonous insect capsule, which can prevent the spirit plants from losing their vitality during the transplantation process. Lu Xuan thought to himself, and came to the front of each evil spirit plant, carefully moving it into the gluttonous insect capsule. The 5 internal organs treasure plant is almost fully mature. The strange spirit plants shaped like the 5 internal organs kept shrinking and expanding, revealing a different kind of vitality. 6th grade skeleton demon temple. The skeleton demon temple was nourished by the skeletons of many high-level monsters. The bone platform built was nearly 1 person tall. Countless gloomy and slender white bones were intertwined in a strange way. At first glance, it looked like a forest of bones. Fang bone demon. What did the cultivator who was parasitized by the demon look like? Lu Xuan looked at the monk who was no longer in human form, and had no intelligence, and was confused. He swept him into the gluttonous insect capsule. Shamu tree demon. I wonder if you will feel more lonely when you arrive at the new cave without the demon ghost vine to fight with. That's good. I can take this opportunity to retreat for a while so as not to be abused by the demon ghost vine every time. 6th grade ghost eating evil vine. After devouring the shadow eating ghost, the spiritual plant has undergone amazing changes, and it is vaguely similar to the evil ghost. 3 lustful female flowers. Remember to collect more pink miasma under the enchanting peach. Set up restrictions to nourish them well. Xuan put the 3 gorgeous flowers with the lustful Laura into the gluttonous insect capsule. And your gorgeous corpse skin. I have to tell the incarnation to be careful of being possessed by you. Xuan took off the gorgeous corpse skin hanging on his feet and trying to get into his body. The 6th grade ghost tumor demon wood that was just planted not long ago, the fragrant meat branch, 3 5th grade soul insect fungi, and the newly obtained 6th grade ancestral coffin. After counting carefully, the number of evil spirit plants planted is not that many. Xuan sighed. There are only more than 10 plants in total, but the lowest grade is 5th grade, and about half are 6th grade. Compared with ordinary spirit plants, it can be said to be a fine product. In addition, the blood spring clam mother and the blood pool built for it must be moved over, and the meat spirit god must be taken over as well. After arriving at the new cave, you can let it go to the Dirty Sheep Mountain range to hunt monsters and obtain blood and flesh. Xuan looked at the big meatball that bounced to his feet and thought secretly, although this disaster level evil spirit is still in the growth stage, its strength is second to none among the spirit beasts in the cave. Even if it encounters a giant and cultivator, it can protect itself with its weird and unpredictable blood secret technique and the powerful ability to revive by dripping blood. The 6th grade ghost sorrow strange picture, Yin Sha bottle and the Wu Xiang Bing Pio sword talisman can be given to the incarnation to improve his strength. With the addition of the 2 5th grade formations, the illusionary 5 element formation and the cloud bamboo arrow formation, even if he encounters a few mid-stage giant and cultivators, he will have the power to protect himself. In addition to practicing the 3 high-level evil techniques such as the blood nerf, Xuan also specially gave the ghost sorrow strange picture and other works to the incarnation, allowing his strength to be raised to a level far beyond that of ordinary early-stage giant and cultivators. As for the illusionary 5-element formation, the Thunder Fire Star Cave is protected by the 6th grade 10,000 barrier mysterious crystal formation. It is a bit redundant to leave it here, and it can be arranged outside the new cave. The 5-element fruit spirit seeds can be brought over for improvement, and you only need to check it every once in a while. The yin key is still there, but there are no spiritual plants. He looked at the greatly changed netherworld spiritual field in front of him, and couldn't help but sigh. After the many evil spiritual plants in the spiritual field were moved into the gluttonous insect capsule, the spiritual field in the underworld was still filled with strong yin energy, as well as the resentment of ghosts and blood everywhere. It will take a while to return to normal, and then I will be a truly ordinary kind spiritual plant master. Xuan chuckled, and took his avatar to Fingyuan Star Cave. When he entered the first floor, he did not see the white bone ghost cultivator who had led him. Xuan did not care, and passed through the layers of the abyss to the 5th floor. Following the map provided by Xiangxing Cave, he came to the vicinity of Huayang Mountain, and found the cave that belonged to him. I have to stay here for a while, and cultivate the spiritual field. The cave was vast. Xuan checked it in detail. There was no trace of the previous owner left inside, which made him feel much more at ease. He arranged 2 5th grade formations outside the cave, and began to cultivate the land with his clone. The ghost mud meat and resentful spirit mud in the spiritual field of the underworld were also brought over. The spiritual soil in the cave of Huayang Mountain contains a strong yin energy, which is naturally suitable for cultivating those evil spiritual plants. Daoiao, are you in the cave? I'm Yumian Zenran, who lives more than 200 miles away from your cave. I came to visit with Daoiao Liru. A gentle voice suddenly came from outside the cave. Xuan's spiritual sense swept over, and saw 2 cultivators standing outside the cave. One of them was a handsome young man with a fake smile on his face. With Xuan's pupil technique, he could tell at a glance that the skin and flesh were not well integrated. I don't know where he got the good looking skin. The other was a 3-foot dwarf with an extremely large head, atrophied limbs, soft as if boneless, like tentacles, and exuding a cold aura. Both of them were in the Giandan realm, but they had treasures on their bodies to conceal their auras, so their specific cultivation levels could not be seen. It is indeed the Xuan Star Cave, where evil cultivators are everywhere. 2 Giandan cultivators look so strange. But my incarnation is no less bad. Xuan smiled and controlled the incarnation with his mind to open the formation and walk towards the 2 cultivators. The aura of the original body was completely blocked by the Kinkyu feather cloth, not leaking out at all. What is your name, fellow Daoist? Jade Face Immortal asked with a smile when he saw the incarnation. Lingu. The incarnation answered briefly in a hoarse voice, as if saying one more word would be a waste. So it's fellow Daoistling. The 3 of us have caves not far apart. We will get closer in the future. Lingu remained silent and glanced at the 2 with an indifferent expression. Fellow Daoistling, why don't you invite us in to sit down? Seeing Xuan's attitude, Jade Face Immortal did not seem angry at all and asked with a stronger smile. The cave is simple and I have important things to do. I will definitely come next time. Lingu said concisely. After saying this, he no longer paid attention to the Giandan cultivators standing outside the cave and turned back to the cave. Outside the cave, a layer of spiritual energy barrier quietly rose, isolating the 2 people outside. This fellow Daoistling is a bit unkind. Jade-faced Immortal smiled, and a painted fan made of human bones and human skin appeared in his hand, gently shaking it. They are all evil cultivators. Everyone knows what kind of people they are. They still pretend to be polite and come to be rejected. One of the dwarf soms turned into a grey-black tentacle and it circled around the cave in an instant. 2 5th grade protective formations. This fellow Daoistling is cautious. Let's go. It's a pity that my enthusiasm is misplaced. Jade-faced Immortal shook the exquisite painted fan and said with a smile. Chapter 758, The 5 Internal Organs Hidden in the Yuan Temple, additional chapter for the Leader Zero's End. Xuan's spiritual sense sensed the 2 people leaving, and he spread out his palms. The grey-white pupils in his palms swept around the cave. After confirming that there was nothing unusual, a faint smile appeared at the corners of his mouth. Although I'm a person who makes friends with people, I'm not interested in people like you who don't look like good people. He said secretly in his heart. Of course, the most important thing is the difference between the incarnation and the original body. The original body is a spiritual plant master who is good at spiritual plants. He is not good at fighting, and is kind to others. He has made friends with many giant and real people. The purpose is naturally, to have more channels, to obtain higher level spiritual seeds. The incarnation is different. Its self-awareness is not strong. If it makes friends with cultivators everywhere like the original body, the more it makes friends, the more likely it is to reveal its feet. Therefore, he created a lonely and unkind image for the incarnation, and tried to avoid contact with other cultivators. In addition, in an environment like Xuan Star Cave, it is even more unsuitable to make friends everywhere. Of course, this does not mean that Xuan is afraid of things. Since the incarnation is here, there is no need to be as cautious as the original body. Naturally, there will be no hesitation when it is time to take action. If someone wants to force his way into the cave, which is not good for the incarnation, Xuan doesn't mind having more high quality fertilizers in the cave. Flesh, soul, bones, make sure everything is used to the fullest, leaving nothing behind. After the jade-faced Immortal and the dwarf monk left, the cave in the filthy sheep mountain returned to peace. Xuan opened the formation, firmly protected the cave, and worked hard with the incarnation to open up the spiritual field and the blood pool. Then, he took out many evil spiritual plants, the blood spring mother clam, and the big meatball from the gluttonous insect capsule one by one. The blood spring mother clam fell into the new blood pool. At first, she was a little uncomfortable. After staying in the blood pool for a while, she felt the familiar rich blood and slowly became active. A stream of red blood rushed out from the crack at a very fast speed. With sufficient blood, the big meatball secretly jumped to the edge of the blood pool, and the fur on the surface of the body quietly opened up, revealing a strange mouth inside, absorbing a little from time to time. The two evil creatures shot and caught, cooperating perfectly. Lu Xuan ignored the flesh spirit god in the others, and came to the spiritual field covered with different Yun-attributed spiritual soils, and planted many evil spiritual plants one by one. After planting all of them in the spiritual soil, he checked the detailed status of each spiritual plant one by one, and performed various basic cultivation techniques according to their needs, nourishing the spiritual plants with flesh, blood, soul, etc. Then, he asked the incarnation to perform it again. The incarnation has a strong spiritual power equivalent to that of a cultivator in the early stage of Jianden, with good talent, and is quite proficient in several cultivation techniques. After cultivating the spiritual plants, Lu Xuan taught the incarnation relevant experience. He has cultivated spiritual plants for many years, and has roughly mastered the growth law of each spiritual plant, knowing when and how to cultivate it. These experiences are instilled into the incarnation, so that it can remember them. Although it is impossible to have the special ability to understand spiritual plants like Lu Xuan in the future, and take care of spiritual plants meticulously, after mastering those experiences, it can also become a high-level spiritual plant master in some aspects of spiritual plants. Okay, finally on the right track. After a few days, Lu Xuan looked at the incarnation that was constantly patrolling in the spiritual field, and a trace of relief appeared on his face. The top farming toolman has been cultivated. He was satisfied and came to the 5 internal organs treasure plant. The strange 5 internal organs on the spiritual plant were more vibrant than before. Lu Xuan focused his mind on it and found that the progress bar below was only a hair's breadth away from being fully filled. I don't know when I will come to Fingyuan Star Cave next time. The 5 internal organs treasure plant is about to mature. I might as well take this opportunity to collect the light ball. Lu Xuan muttered to himself. He took out the Shenmue Kinghu and poured out a wisp of extremely rich and pure plant spirit from the spout, which infiltrated into the strange spiritual plant. After a while, the translucent area below the 5 internal organs treasure plant was fully filled. This Shenmue Kinghu is really a good treasure. Lu Xuan sighed again and carefully picked the spiritual plant out. Focused his mind on it. 5 organ treasure plant, 5th grade spiritual plant, cultivated by sacrificing fresh organs for nourishment. Mature spiritual plants can greatly enhance the cultivator's physical body, ki and blood, and are excellent materials for practicing body refining magic. Good quality, not bad, but unfortunately I already have TSUI meat with similar effects and 7th grade Liuli Chifeng bone in my body, so the increase is estimated to be limited. Lu Xuan thought secretly in his heart. As for the incarnation, there is no body refining magic at present. If there is a suitable opportunity, I will feed this 5 organ treasure plant to him. He put away the strange spiritual plant that looked like 5 internal organs connected together, and his sight was completely attracted by the white light ball that quietly emerged below. The light ball flickered slightly, and it had a different attraction in this cave, filled with yin energy. Lu Xuan held his breath and reached out to gently touch the surface of the light ball. In an instant, the light ball silently shattered and turned into tiny light spots all over the sky, illuminating the gray surroundings like daylight. In a flash, all the light spots converged together to form a delicate and small temple phantom, which quickly sank into Lu Xuan's body. Then, a thought emerged in his mind. Harvest a 5th grade 5 organ treasure plant, and obtain the 6th grade treasure 5 organs Kangyuan temple. The thought disappeared, and a strange treasure appeared in front of Lu Xuan. The treasure is a small temple, and the temple is filled with black air. 5 kinds of fresh organs are placed together in a special orientation. A faint beating sound can be heard, vigorous and full of vitality. What kind of underworld reward is this? Lu Xuan curiously focused his mind on the strange temple in front of him, and immediately learned detailed information about it. 5 organs Kangyuan temple, a 6th grade treasure. There is a Yuniying Zenjin who is good at body refining. He collected the organs of many beasts and refined them with evil methods, which can be refined and integrated into the body. After refining, it can be attached to the internal organs of the cultivator, greatly strengthening the 5 internal organs and upgrading them to the level of high-level magic tools. At the same time, it can also continuously accumulate essence, which is inexhaustible. 6th grade treasure. Lu Xuan was delighted. strengthening the 5 internal organs of the cultivator. I didn't expect that after so many times of strengthening, there is still room for improving the strength of the physical body. He looked at the strange and exquisite temple in front of him and was amazed. Tsui meat strengthens the vitality of flesh and blood, Liuli Chifeng bone strengthens the bones around the body, and some other skills and spiritual fruits have also been improved. He thought he had reached the extreme, but he didn't expect that this 5 internal organs can make his physical body reach a higher level. It can also accumulate a large amount of essence in the 5 internal organs, which can play a significant role at certain critical moments, or when using corresponding secret methods. Lu Xuan analyzed in his heart. The first treasure opened in the new cave did not disappoint me. Lu Xuan's mouth curled up and saw the silent incarnation beside him. Well, the water in this 5 internal organs temple is too deep. I'm afraid you can't grasp it. Let me use it. As for you, you have such a good embryo for evil cultivation. After you have the magic skills for body refining, I will give you the 5 internal organs treasure plant. He said with a smile. Chapter 759,000 Thundersword Grass. After handling all the affairs of the new cave house in Fingyeongxing Cave, Lu Xuan took the 5 Zangyuan temple back to Lihulaxing Cave. During this period of time, everything in Lihulaxing Cave was normal, and there were no incidents such as monks and evil spirits invading. In the following period of time, Lu Xuan stayed at home and cultivated spiritual plants, refined treasures, and practiced magic in the cave house. A month later, the 5 Zangyuan temple had been perfectly integrated into his internal organs, constantly warming his organs and absorbing the excess essence in his body and storing it in treasures. During the refining period, he also worked hard to practice the incomplete spirit infant holy method. Although he had successfully refined an incarnation, if he could further master this secret method, he would be able to better control the incarnation and strengthen the connection with the incarnation. In addition, he would spend a lot of time practicing the Zuanshan Kingwei Mao method and the first level of the Xingxiu Zen for every day, and the remaining time would be used to refine pills and instruments, to earn some spiritual stones for himself. Jian Kaolingshan area. The Dangxuan sword monument was inserted in the middle of the spiritual field. The invisible sword intent emanated from it, filling the spiritual field, and nourishing and stimulating the many thunder sword grasses inside. At the edge of the spiritual field, a mottled and simple sword sheath leaned against a thunder sword grass, and several flying swords shining with starlight squeezed into the opening of the sword sheath. You live a very comfortable life, Lu Xuan muttered. After having the Dangxuan sword monument, a rare sword treasure, he simply placed the Yangxuan sword sheath in the sword grass spiritual field, allowing it to enjoy the nourishment of sword intent with its harem flying swords. After experiencing the nourishment of sword intent from many flying swords in the Dangxuan sword monument, the Yangxuan sword sheath has recovered a lot of spirituality. Lu Xuan can even vaguely perceive its thoughts when he perceives it with his mind. The way of inserting the flying sword has also changed. From the passive acceptance at the beginning, it has gradually become the current active request. Every once in a while, he will flip the flying swords belonging to his harem. Lu Xuan walked forward and pulled out several flying swords inserted in the scabbard together. The scabbard made a clanging sound, and one could vaguely sense its complex feelings of pleasure and pain. Damn scabbard. Lu Xuan spat inwardly, grabbed the scabbard, and kept shaking it, and 7 or 8 silver white sword grass spirit seeds rolled out of it. You nourish my spirit seeds and still enjoy it. If it doesn't work, I'll make you give up flying swords for half a year. Lu Xuan picked up the few lightning sword grass spirit seeds and looked at them carefully. He has been trying to improve new sword grass spirit plants. There are 2 ways to improve them. The spirit seeds are placed in the Yangxuan scabbard and are nurtured by the scabbard. The spirit plants are cultivated near the Dangxuan sword monument and allowed to be nourished by the invisible sword intent on the sword monument. It looks like the effect is not bad. The silver white slender spirit seeds in his hand have changed a lot compared to the original lightning sword grass spirit seeds. On the surface of the spirit seeds, you can see strands of fine lightning looming, and there is a slight numbness in the hand. He performed the earth-inducing technique and put the improved lightning sword grass spirit seeds into the spirit soil, concentrating his mind on it. Thousand Thunder Sword Grass, a 4th grade spiritual plant. The 3rd grade Thunder Sword Grass was improved under the nourishment of the mysterious sword treasure. It needs to absorb Thunder Sword energy during the growth stage. A natural sword weapon. After maturity, the sword body contains rich thunder energy, which can stimulate continuous Thunder Sword energy, and is extremely powerful. Finally, the 4th grade sword grass has been improved. Lu Xuan stood up with a smile on his face. If I were still in the Xianjian sect, I would present this new 4th grade sword grass spirit seed to the sword hall. I wonder how much of a sensation it would cause. He couldn't help but think of the commotion when the 3rd grade wind and thunder sword grass was improved. It's a pity that it's easy to improve the 3rd grade to the 4th grade, but it's as difficult as ascending to heaven if you want to break through to the 5th grade. The 4th grade sword grass is still within the scope of foundation building, but if you want to improve the 5th grade sword grass, the difficulty is no less than a foundation building cultivator's promotion to the Giandan realm. Fortunately, I have the special ability to cultivate the Xuan sword sheath, the Xuan sword monument, and to grasp the status of the sword grass spirit plant at any time. With these 3 methods, I will get new 5th grade sword grass sooner or later. Lu Xuan was confident about this. He planted the new 4th grade sword grass into the spirit soil, took out some 3rd grade sword grass spirit seeds, and continued to stuff them into the ancient sword sheath. Continue to nourish it well for me. If you perform well, I will find a way to get you a flying sword magic weapon, which will make you linger and forget to leave. He painted a big pie for the sword sheath. For the thunder sword grass in the sword grass spirit field area, he did not have the idea of harvesting the light balls for the time being, but condensed the spirit seeds as much as possible, cast a wide net, and improved as many 4th grade sword grass spirit seeds as possible. By then, the reward of a 4th grade sword grass light ball will be equivalent to more than 10 3rd grade sword grass light balls. After cultivating the thunder sword grass and the sword raising gourd, Lu Xuan came to other spirit fields. A new batch of ice fireflies has taken root and sprouted. The pale blue seedlings are trembling in the breeze. The pale white cold spiritual energy rises from the seedlings. A layer of frost as thin as a cicada's wing condenses on the surface of the spiritual soil. Suddenly, a silver white spiritual light flashed in front of him, and the figure of the Lingxi, that looked like a little man, could be vaguely seen. Then, another silver white lightning flashed a trail of after images, and rushed to the front of the Lingxi at a faster speed and intercepted it. The silver white lightning dissipated, revealing the figure of the thunder dragon hound cub inside, holding a strange Lingxi in its mouth. The Lingxi was silver white all over, with faint lightning flashing on its branches and leaves. Many roots of different sizes were dancing in the air, trying to break free from the mouth of the thunder dragon hound cub. Well done. Lu Xuan reached out and touched the sharp horn on the head of the thunder dragon hound cub and rewarded it with a thunderstorm lotus seed. He casually took the silver white Gynoderma from its mouth and flicked it with his fingers. Strands of lightning spread out. You little guy, have you escaped again? He chuckled. As the 6th grade flying thunder Gynoderma continued to grow, the simple restrictions he set up could no longer trap it. It would run out from time to rub against the 6th grade Ziwei fruit and the 7th grade Yimukingli vine. However, the cave was protected by the formation, and there were no thunder treasures outside to attract it, so Lu Xuan was not worried that it would be abducted. Flying thunder Gynoderma frequently ran out, and Lu Xuan had to catch it every time. He was annoyed, so he simply entrusted it to the young thunder dragon. Once the spiritual plant ran out, he would catch it in front of him. The young thunder dragon had a strong sense of this thunder spiritual plant, and its speed was much faster than that of flying thunder Gynoderma, so it was very easy to catch it. Thunder dragon was also happy to do something for Lu Xuan and play a small game at the same time. It seems that in addition to refining pills and tools, we have to strengthen our ability in formations. Lu Xuan can only set up simple restrictions at present, so he can't trap the growing flying thunder ZHI. The several formations in the cave are all rewards from the light balls, and Lu Xuan himself is not proficient in formations. I remember that the 5-element fruit light ball once opened the illusion 5-element formation, and there are often 5-element in various formations. The subsequent light balls should be able to open a lot of treasures related to formations. Lu Xuan thought secretly. Chapter 760, The Imitation of the Yin Yang Treasure Bottle. 3 months passed in a blink of an eye. The Thunder Mars cave was still peaceful. Lu Xuan basically stayed in the cave. Occasionally, he was invited to visit the caves of familiar monks nearby to make friends and pave the way for obtaining high-level rare spiritual seeds in the future. On this day, when he was cultivating spiritual plants in the cave, he suddenly noticed an abnormal spiritual fluctuation coming from outside. His spiritual consciousness swept over and saw a communication talisman flying in the air, but it was blocked by the spiritual shield and could not enter the cave. Judging from the style of the talisman, it should be from the branch building of the Chamber of Commerce. Lu Xuan thought to himself, stopped his action, and led the communication talisman in front of him. A trace of spiritual power seeped into it, and the soft and gentle voice of the owner of Wen Tower came from it. Senior Lu, I have something to ask you. Please forgive me if I disturb your meditation. Senior, you asked me to pay attention to yin yang treasures and methods of seed condensation. I have found some clues. I heard that a branch building has a 5th grade yin yang treasure, so I specially got it for you. You can come and have a look in your spare time. In addition, the Chamber of Commerce will hold a large auction at the headquarters in the near future. Because the Liji Cave secret realm has just appeared, there will be more rare treasures than before at the auction. Maybe there will be the spirit seeds and methods of seed condensation that you need. The gentle voice disappeared, and Lu Xuan stood there thinking. Finally found a high-level yin-yang treasure. It's not easy. The quasi 7th grade yin-yang fruit has finally been found. He was full of emotion. It has been quite a long time since I got the yin-yang fruit, but because I haven't found a suitable treasure, I can't cultivate the spirit seeds to my heart's content. I can only plant it in the Wuling soil to maintain basic vitality. Also, the Heilao Chamber of Commerce is about to hold a large auction at the headquarters. This opportunity cannot be missed. Lu Xuan thought to himself. As a guest of the Chamber of Commerce, he naturally knew a lot about the Chamber of Commerce. The headquarters did not hold many auctions, which were held once every 10 or 20 years, or even once every 100 years. Each time, it attracted countless Liang realm and even other realms of Jiandan Zhenren and even Yuanying Zhenjian to participate. He was fortunate to participate once, when he was in the perfect stage of foundation building, and obtained rare spiritual seeds such as Sitting Buddha Lotus and Ghost-Eating Evil Vine. He was even discovered by the spirit of the treasure building, and thus got the opportunity to become a guest of the Chamber of Commerce. With the emergence of the secret realm of Liji Cave, there will definitely be a lot of treasures flowing out. This auction opportunity cannot be missed. Lu Xuan thought to himself, counted the spiritual stones in the gluttonous insect sack, asked the grass puppet and the spirit beasts to take care of the cave, opened the 6th grade Wan's Hang Xuanjing formation, and arranged the cave to be as solid as a rock. He quickly passed through the sky full of lightning, came out of the thunder cloud of Lihuo Star Cave, and entered the branch building of the Chamber of Commerce. As soon as they entered the branch building hall, the female cultivator surnamed Wen, who had sensed Lu Xuan's presence, hurried out to greet them. Senior Lu, you're here so soon. A trace of surprise appeared on the female cultivator's face. She didn't expect that Lu Xuan would come here soon after she sent the message. Just happened to be free. I heard that you collected a yin-yang treasure here, so I rushed over. Lu Xuan said calmly. That's true. The female cultivator nodded gently. I have always kept in mind the senior's instructions and paid attention to the yin-yang treasures and seed condensing methods that appeared in the Chamber of Commerce. I encountered a treasure a few days ago. The owner of the disciplinary building heard that the senior needed it, so he intercepted the treasure and sent it here. Thank you for your hard work. Take out the yin-yang treasure for me to see. Lu Xuan encouraged the female cultivator and said lightly. Okay senior, wait a moment. The female cultivator turned and went deep into the branch building. After more than 10 breaths, she came to Lu Xuan with a treasure bottle in her hands. The treasure bottle is more than 1 foot high, with a thin neck, and a mixture of black and white. A faint black and white spiritual energy swirls out from the mouth of the bottle, clearly distinguished, and yet not close. What is this? Lu Xuan asked in confusion. The treasure is called the yin-yang treasure bottle, and its grade is the 5th grade. It contains yin-yang spiritual energy. After refining, it can be released to fight against the enemy or to practice yin-yang magical powers. The female cultivator surnamed Wen said slowly, "Yin-yang treasure bottle." Lu Xuan nodded gently. Although this yin-yang treasure bottle is the 5th grade, its origin is extraordinary. According to the owner of the branch building, the treasure comes from a mysterious sect in the foreign land and is extremely rare in the cultivation world. I heard that the yin-yang treasure bottle is a replica of the middle-level magic weapon yin-yang sheksu bottle, and the yin-yang sheksu bottle is a replica of the rumored innate spiritual treasure yin-yang urki bottle. That is, a replica of a replica. Lu Xuan concluded. He didn't have any objection to this, and even welcomed it. After all, the original product was so magical, and as a double replica, the yin-yang treasure bottle was naturally not simple. I want this yin-yang treasure bottle. How many spirit stones are there? Lu Xuan said with a smile. With this 5th grade yin-yang treasure, the quasi 7th grade yin-yang fruit can basically be cultivated successfully, and he is determined to get it. Senior Lu, yin-yang magic tools are extremely rare, and their value is at the forefront among magic tools of the same level. This yin-yang treasure bottle requires 140,000 low-grade spirit stones. The female cultivator surnamed Wen pondered for a moment and said slowly. Lu Xuan looked calm. This price was completely within his affordability, not to mention that, after taking the treasure, the yin-yang fruit will be cultivated to maturity, and the light bowl will bring 10 times or 100 times the reward. Okay, here are 1,400 medium-grade spirit stones. Fellow Daoist Wen, please take a look. He nodded in agreement without any hesitation. As soon as the voice fell, a small pile of medium-grade spirit stones full of spiritual light floated in front of the female cultivator. The number of spirit stones is correct. Thank you, Senior Lu. The female cultivator scanned it with her spiritual sense, collected the pile of medium-grade spirit stones, and said gratefully, "I should be the one thanking you." A smile appeared on Lu Xuan's face. By the way, what's the news about the upcoming auction at the headquarters? As a guest of the Chamber of Commerce, if I attend the auction held by the Chamber of Commerce again, will there be anything wrong? He asked the female cultivator. The female cultivator was a direct descendant of the Wen family, one of the major families in the Halao Chamber of Commerce. As the owner of a branch building, she naturally knew more about the Chamber of Commerce than Lu Xuan. Guests can also participate in the Chamber of Commerce normally, without any impact. You can even get some conveniences. The female cultivator said with a smile, dispelling Lu Xuan's doubts. Oh, what do you mean? Lu Xuan heard this, and felt a little curious. After entering the interior of the treasure building, Spirit Master, Senior Lu, as a guest of the Chamber of Commerce, can get detailed information about the auction treasures in advance. According to my understanding, there may be 7th grade spirit seeds in this auction. 7th grade spirit seeds. Lu Xuan was shocked. I just heard my uncle mentioned it, but I can't guarantee it. It's enough for you to tell me, fellow Daoist Wen. Lu Xuan said gratefully. He believed what the female cultivator surnamed Wen said. According to his understanding, the uncle mentioned by the female cultivator was the Yuanying's engine of the Wen family, so the news was most likely true. It seems that I have to prepare as many spirit stones as possible. Lu Xuan was full of energy. Chapter 761 The deceased of the Xian Qiu sect. After leaving the branch building of the Chamber of Commerce, Lu Xuan went straight to a grocery store. Senior Lu. When Xuan threw aside the several foundation building monks who were wandering around the shop, and stepped forward to salute Lu Xuan respectfully. The monks noticed Lu Xuan's cultivation, all said hello, and then left cautiously. Bring me the spiritual stones from the shop. I will use them. Lu Xuan ordered. Yes, senior. Wait a moment. Soon, when Xuan came out of the room with a thick account book and a large capacity storage bag. Senior Lu, this is the income of the store in recent months, which totals nearly 1.2 million low-grade spiritual stones. Every transaction is recorded in the account book. I would like to ask Senior to review it. He gently put the storage bag in the account book, speaking respectfully on the wooden table in front of Lu Xuan. Okay. Lu Xuan flipped through the ledger casually, weighed the storage bag in his hand, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. After replenishing such a large amount of spiritual stones, even if he encounters 1 or 2 7th grade spiritual seeds, he is quite sure to capture them. In the next few days, Lu Xuan simply stayed in the star-reaching tower, quietly waiting for the auction to start. Friend Liu Dao, I heard that you opened a small shop in Zixinglao, but I didn't expect that there is a grocery store here. That day, while he was resting in the shop, a familiar voice sounded in his ears. Following the sound, I happened to see Yulin Sanren and Wang Suhui entering the grocery store together. Two fellow Taoists, please come in quickly. It's a small fuss, mainly selling some elixirs I cultivated, a few special spiritual brews, and a few other treasures. Lu Xuan said with a smile. Fellow Daoist Lu, you don't have to be modest. I heard that your store once had thunder death crystals, 5th grade magic weapons and other treasures. This is just a small matter, so there is no need to open other stores. Yulin Sanren joked, and the two people enter the store and randomly observe the many treasures on the shelves. Are there no more thunder death crystals? Yulin Sanren looks slightly disappointed. I got a little by chance, and have sold them all. If I have a chance to get it again in the future, I will definitely leave some for you, Yulin Taoist fellow. Lu Xuan said with a smile, but he did not expose all the remaining thunder death crystals on his body. In that case, the value of the thunder death crystal will be greatly reduced, and it may also cause a lot of trouble to yourself. As for the needs of Yulin Sanren, he would find an excuse to sell it to her after a while. Okay, then I will pick out a few bottles of spirit wine and spirit liquid. The wines brewed by fellow Taoist Lu are all top quality wines, Yulin Sanren said with a smile. Wang Suhui was quite interested in sword raising goods. After taking a few, he looked at a dark yellow elixir aside. Fellow Daoist Wang has a good eye. This elixir is called agarwood pill. It is made from a variety of spices, essence of spiritual plant petals, spiritual animal musk, etc. It is very attractive to spiritual beasts, especially feline spiritual beasts. Can keep them physically and mentally happy and slightly accelerate their growth, Lu Xuan introduced at the side. Wang Suhui nodded and took off the agarwood pills. Thank you two fellow Taoists for coming to the store today to take care of Lu's business. Wen Kan, the treasures taken by these two seniors are discounted at 30%. He smiled and told Wen Kan. Fellow Daoist Lu is too polite. Yulin Sanren couldn't refuse, so he had to nod in agreement. The three of them entered a private room at the back of the shop. Wen Kan brewed the spiritual tea, came in with a spiritual fruit, and left quietly. Are these two fellow Taoists here for the large-scale auction held by the Heilao Chamber of Commerce? Lu Xuan took a sip of steaming spiritual tea and asked softly. That's right, the auction is about to be held. If you want to participate, you can only teleport from the Heilao Chamber of Commerce branch building to the headquarters, so I came to the nearest branch building in advance. Walking around in the star-reaching building, I met you, Lu Dao Iao. Yulin Sanren said with a smile. Lu also wants to go over and have a look to see if he can get one or two good spiritual seeds. Fellow Daoist Lu is a guest of the Heilao Merchant Association. It's not easy to get spiritual seeds. Yulin Sanren's words are wrong. The information the two Taoist friends have learned is similar. Even if you are lucky enough to get some inside information, you still have to look at the spiritual stones in the storage bag. Lu Xuan said gently. Fellow Daoist Lu's words are absolutely true. No matter what kind of treasure it is, as long as there are enough spirit stones, the Heilao Chamber of Commerce doesn't care what your cultivation level is. Yulin Sanren nodded in agreement. The two chatted for a while, then said goodbye to Lu Xuan with a bunch of treasures. More and more high-level monks are entering the star-reaching tower. Lu Xuan stood at the door, sighing in his heart. As the auction drew closer, the number of high-level monks coming from the 18-star cave and other places increased significantly, and Lu Xuan even became aware of the existence of true Lord Nascent Soul. Fortunately, I have plenty of spiritual stones in my hand. He raised the corner of his mouth and walked into the spacious Bluestone Street, wandering around in a leisurely mood. Soon, they entered the area where casual cultivators set up stalls. Lu Xuan observed at will, and when he saw suitable monster materials, he accepted them and used them to raise spirit beasts and evil spirit plants. Suddenly, his eyes froze, and he stared at a stall in front of him. There are many monster materials on the stall. The quality is good. Most of them are 4th grade. But what caught Lu Xuan's attention was not the numerous materials on the stall, but the stall owner himself. The stall owner was wearing a green shirt with a gentle temperament and carried a dark black sword box on his back. Senior brother Shenyi. Lu Xuan's heart was shocked. He didn't expect to meet his former fellow sect brother here. He gathered his thoughts and quietly came to brother Wenren's side. Senior brother Shen, we haven't seen you for a long time. Hearing these familiar words, Shenyi trembled slightly, then turned around with surprise on his face. Junior brother Lu, he exclaimed. Immediately, his spiritual sense noticed Lu Xuanruianruhe's aura, and his pupils suddenly dilated. No, I should call you Mr. Lu. He took a deep breath and said with a complicated expression. There was joy, shock, surprise, and envy in his expression. Senior brother Shen doesn't need to be seen outside. In Lu's eyes, you have always been my senior brother. Junior brother Lu should sound more cordial and pleasant. Lu Xuan said with a smile. Okay, you're welcome then, junior brother Lu. After hearing this, Shenyi immediately relaxed a lot. After he noticed that Lu Xuan entered the realm of forming pills, he knew that the identities of the two were very different, so he changed their names to avoid being presumptuous. But Lu Xuan wanted to stick to the original relationship, so he followed suit and returned to his previous sect days. Shen never expected to meet junior brother Lu in the Stars Adding Tower. What's even more unexpected is that junior brother has actually been promoted to core formation. Shenyi said with mixed emotions. He remembered that, when he first met Lu Xuan in the sect, he had not yet reached the realm of foundation building. Because he greatly appreciated Lu Xuan's cultivation of sword grass, the two formed a deep friendship. After the sect encountered a major change, all the foundation building disciples parted ways. When they parted, he already had a perfect foundation building cultivation level and was just a hair away from forming a core, while Lu Xuan was only in the late stage of foundation building and his cultivation level was quite different. Unexpectedly, when they met again, Lu Xuan had already become a master of pill formation. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 762 Gift of Treasure. The Fate of Monks and Monks. Thinking of the gap between the two, even though Shenyi was determined, his heart was almost broken. Junior brother, I just have better luck. Lu Xuan said in a low voice. Not long after arriving in Liang realm, I luckily broke through to the perfect realm of foundation building. Later, in order to make it easier to practice and cultivate spiritual plants, I used up my spiritual stones to rent a high quality cave in Chiangxing Cave Mansion. The spiritual energy is not weaker than the previous core area of the sect, and the cultivation is progressing rapidly. At the same time, the spiritual plants planted are exchanged for a large number of high-level elixirs that increase spiritual power. By chance, the spiritual plant skills were favored by the Halao Chamber of Commerce. I was very lucky to become a guest of the Chamber of Commerce while still in the foundation building stage, and obtained many cultivation resources from the Chamber of Commerce. When the time was right, I tried to break through the core formation. Unexpectedly, I succeeded in advancing to the realm of core formation for the first time. He explained to Shenyi half-heartedly. Junior brother Lu, your journey has been so smooth. Shenyi's eyes were full of envy. According to Lu Xuan, it seemed that he had not encountered any difficulties or obstacles all the way to the realm of pill formation, which made him extremely envious as he knew how difficult it was to advance. However, with my junior brother's Lingxi attainments, and being favored by the Halao Chamber of Commerce, it is reasonable to achieve today's achievements. He calmed down and said slowly. As early as when he was in the Xianjian sect, this junior disciple who devoted himself wholeheartedly to spiritual plants had brought him countless surprises. With his superb spiritual plant attainments, he would definitely stand out, even if he entered the central continent. How is senior brother Shen doing? Lu Xuan asked curiously. I'll make do. I'm far inferior to you, junior brother. Shenyi smiled bitterly and said helplessly. When I moved away from the sect, I chose to go to a large market in Liang realm and became a casual cultivator. However, with my swordsmanship, I was able to get along pretty well. With my senior brother's superb swordsmanship, then everything will be prosperous. Lu Xuan said with a smile. When he was still in the Xianjian sect, Shenyi was a senior member of the sect's largest sword hall. He was proficient in swordsmanship, plus the treasures left behind by the sect when he moved away. The strength is far stronger than most casual cultivators of the same level. After my cultivation reached a bottleneck, I have been preparing to break through the pill formation in the past 2 years. I heard that the Halao Chamber of Commerce was planning to hold a large-scale auction, so I came to the nearby building to see if I could buy something to increase the probability of pill formation. Treasures to break through to the realm of pill formation. I also wanted to sell some hunting monster materials, but I didn't expect to meet you, junior brother Lu. Here, Shenyi said gently. So that's it. Junior brother wishes senior brother Shen to be promoted to Dunji in one fell swoop. Lu Xuan said sincerely. By the way, senior brother Shen, after you enter Central Continent, can you get in touch with other senior brothers in the sect? Senior brother knows me. I'm devoted to spiritual plants and rarely go out, let alone explore secret realms. So I haven't seen other classmates for so many years. He then asked Shenyi. My fellow disciples are scattered all over Central Continent, and I can't meet many of them. While I was running around, I met a few fellow disciples at first, and occasionally kept in touch. Several fellow disciples are doing well, but I heard that a junior brother is here. While exploring a secret realm, he accidentally died in the hands of GXIU, Shenyi said with a sigh on his face. Alas. What a pity. Lu Xuan sighed softly after hearing this. If he hadn't relied on the light group, and relied on his cultivation strength at that time, he might have faced that kind of encounter. To be serious, it is not even possible to advance to the foundation building realm, and you will be eliminated in Linyangfang City. It is great to be able to reach the end of your life smoothly. The two chatted for a while, recalling the prosperous years in Xianjian sect, and each was filled with emotion. By the way, senior brother Shen, I have cultivated many high-level spiritual plants over the years, and accumulated some wealth. Senior brother is about to break through the core formation. Junior brother has nothing to help. I can only give you a few small gifts. I hope it can help my senior brother. After the conversation, Lu Xuan took out a storage bag and said proactively. Shenyi repeatedly declined, but seeing Lu Xuan's firm attitude, he had to accept it. There are 6 sword talismans inside, which can instantly release powerful sword energy. They may be able to help senior brother at a critical moment. In addition, there is also a holy infant pill, which was originally prepared by me to break through the pill formation. Now it is for me. It's said to be of little use. The elixir can slightly increase the probability of being promoted to the elixir formation. Brother Shen can try it when the time comes. Lu Xuan sent a message to Shenyi. He planted holy infant fruit plants for several generations and harvested several holy infant pills. Seeing that Shenyi needed them exactly, he had the idea of giving the treasures to him. Junior brother Lu, these things are too valuable. After Shenyi's spiritual sense reached into the storage bag, he immediately changed his mind and handed the storage bag back with a solemn expression. He did not expect that Lu Xuan would give him a 5th grade holy infant pill. You must know that treasures that can increase the probability of forming a pill are too rare. He searched everywhere but couldn't find it. After many twists and turns, he came to this branch building just to get a similar treasure from the auction. Senior brother, I must accept it. I took good care of me back then. Now I have the ability to help my senior brother. If I miss this opportunity, I may become a demon in my heart in the future. Lu Xuan said with a smile. With a thought in his mind, a layer of spiritual energy barrier was formed in front of him to keep Shenyi out. What he said was true. In the Xianjian sect for more than 30 years, he has not met many fellow sect members. When it comes to friendship, the best one is naturally junior brother Bailey Jianking. The two joined the sect together, have similar temperaments, and have a deep friendship. There were disciples such as Jepu, Zhang Jingshan, Huo Liner and Shenyi who helped him a lot. Among them, the one who helped him the most was none other than Shenyi. When he was still in the key training stage, Shenyi discovered his talent in cultivating sword grass, introduced him to the sword hall as an exception, and gave him a large amount of sword grass for him to cultivate. During this period, Lu Xuan continued to show off his spiritual cultivation skills, and Shen Yi brought him more and more high-level sword grass, even going so far as to fight for the qualifications to cultivate them and give them to Lu Xuan. Lu Xuan was able to obtain the 5th grade light escape sword grass and white bone killing sword grass. Although it was mainly due to his spiritual plant attainments, Shen Yi also contributed a lot. It can be said that Shen Yi was of great help to him for achieving such achievements in just a few decades. This reward is also deserved, not to mention, a few sword talismans and a holy infant pill are nothing to him at present. He has many treasures on his body, including many 6th grade or even 7th grade exotic treasures. He is extremely satisfied to be able to use a 5th grade holy infant pill to help his senior brother who was kind to him. Okay, junior brother Lu, I won't be pretentious senior brother. Seeing that Lu Xuan had made up his mind, Shen Yi stopped forcing and carefully put away the treasures given by Lu Xuan. Junior brother's kindness today will be unforgettable for Shen. He said every word with a solemn expression. Haha, senior brother Shen is too polite. Lu Xuan laughed loudly when he saw Shen Yi taking the sword talisman and elixir. Senior brother, this is my communication talisman. When senior brother breaks through to the realm of pill formation, junior brother will celebrate for senior brother. If senior brother encounters any difficulties, you can come to me, and junior brother will try his best to help. He left a communication talisman and informed him of the location of the cave, promising to Shen Yi. Okay. Shen Yi solemnly agreed. Chapter 763, Incomplete Cave Heaven. Lu Xuan and Shen Yi chatted for a long time before saying goodbye. 3 days later, the auction officially started. Lu Xuan entered the branch building of the Chamber of Commerce with a group of monks. In this building alone, there are no less than 30 Daodan masters. 1 or 2 of them may even be nascent soul monarchs. The scale of this auction is even larger than the last time. Lu Xuan's spiritual consciousness scanned slightly and stand quietly in the corner and wait for the teleportation array to open. Perhaps because this branch building is located in Chiangxing Cave, more Master Jiden went to participate in the auction than he thought. Several of them had known each other, and there were even familiar monks like Yulin Sanren. Not long after everyone waited, the large array in the hall suddenly lit up, the majestic spiritual energy spread out, and then array patterns moved around. Immediately afterwards, Lu Xuan was in a trance and entered a chaotic space. After an unknown amount of time, when his feet fell, Lu Xuan found that he had entered a vast starry sky. We've arrived inside the weapon spirit. With the experience of coming in before, Lu Xuan quickly calmed down, looked at a black meteorite at his feet, and thought to himself, as far as the eye can see, there are countless large and small meteorites moving rapidly in the starry sky. Most of them are empty, and a few of them have a monk standing on them. Some of the monks showed their true appearance, while others hid their appearance under the cover of the formations arranged on the meteorite. All monks are located inside the high-level magical weapon spirit. With its cover, the concealment effect can be said to be the ultimate, so that all monks can auction with confidence. During Lu Xuan's observation, monks appeared one after another from the unknown void, and landed on the meteorite. There are more and more Master Jiden and Master Nascent Soul. Lu Xuan sighed with emotion, and with a thought, he followed the meteorite to the center of the starry sky. As an insider, how could you miss the inside information of the auction? You have to go backstage to take a look. He controlled the black meteorite and landed it. Fellow Daoist Lu, are you here? As soon as Lu Xuan showed up, an elegant middle-aged monk came out with a smile. The monk was none other than Zhang Jiuzhang, who had advanced cultivation of Dunji. When Lu Xuan was promoted to Dunji, he came to congratulate him on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, and gave him a 5th grade Snow Barrier Ice Jade Lotus spiritual seed as a congratulatory gift. Later, he also brought 5 5th grade star fruits to Lu Xuan, and the two had a good relationship. Fellow Daoist Zhang, is this auction being hosted by fellow Taoist again? Lu Xuan asked via voice transmission. That's right. Does fellow Daoist Lu have the type of treasure you want? Apart from anything else, I can still inform you of the types of treasures being auctioned. This is also a trivial benefit for fellow Daoist Lu as a guest of the Chamber of Commerce. Zhang Jiuzhan did the same. Transmission road. Then I'll trouble Daoist Zhang. Lu has limited spiritual stones, so he can't collect all the treasures he likes. He can only focus on a few treasures. When Lu Xuan heard this, a hint of joy flashed in his eyes. Zhang Jiuzhang nodded lightly and sent a pale green jade slip to Lu Xuan. Friend Liu Dao, remember to burn it after reading it, and don't leak the information inside, he told Lu Xuan with a solemn expression. Don't worry, fellow Daoist Zhang. Lu Xuan took the jade slip and penetrated it with his spiritual consciousness. The information in the jade slip poured into the sea of consciousness like a torrent. He had no time to digest and absorb all the information, so he destroyed the jade slips in front of Zhang Jiuzhang. Zhang Jiuzhang nodded with satisfaction and went to discuss the auction matters. Sure enough, there are 7th grade spiritual species. A smile appeared on Lu Xuan's face. There is also the method of condensing seeds of 5th grade spiritual plants, which is quite rare. He thought secretly in his heart. It is extremely difficult to condense the 5th grade spiritual seeds in batches. It requires the creation of heaven and earth and meets many conditions before they can be condensed. If you can get the method of condensing the 5th grade spiritual seeds, you only need to find a special and strange treasure land that satisfies it, or other conditions. Then you can stably obtain a certain 5th grade spiritual seed. He was eager to obtain the 5th grade spiritual seed condensation method. In addition, there are rare spiritual soils, 6th grade spiritual seeds, and other treasures related to spiritual plants and spiritual beasts. Lu Xuan was extremely happy and wished he could accept all the treasures related to spiritual plants. There are countless types of treasures appearing at the auction. Although the number of spiritual species is very small, each of them is a rare high-level variety, with the lowest level being 5th grade. In addition, there are other treasures such as spiritual soil and spiritual springs. It's a pity that, after buying the Fengyuan Star Cave, I spent a lot of spiritual stones, so I can only focus on a few treasures. Lu Xuan secretly estimated in his heart. He is bound to get the 7th grade spiritual seeds and the 5th grade seed condensation method, and he will try his best to get the rest. Boy Lu, are you here? While he was thinking, a naughty voice suddenly came into his ears. Looking around, he saw a pagoda-shaped little man with a pointed top and a rounded bottom, tiptoeing up to him. It was a high-level magical weapon spirit from the Heilao Chamber of Commerce. Lu Xuan has met senior weapon spirit. Lu Xuan hurriedly bowed respectfully. The cute little man in front of him was a high-level magical weapon spirit. His strength was estimated to be higher than that of most nascent ultra monarchs. He had countless treasures in his hands. He did not dare to neglect him at all. Your boy has broken through to the middle stage of pill formation? It's a bit fast. The weapon spirit villain raised a square wooden beam under his head, seeming to be thinking about something. Lu Xuan's heart trembled. He had King Gaiu feather clothes to cover his aura. He thought that no one would be able to detect his true cultivation level, but he didn't expect to be noticed by this weapon spirit at a glance. This junior stays in the cave and practices hard every day. In addition, due to his good fortune, he unexpectedly obtained some chance treasures. Not long ago, he successfully broke through to the middle stage of pill formation. He explained to the weapon spirit villain with a calm expression. You don't need to tell me so much. If you have a chance, you will have a chance. No matter how many treasures you have, there are only 3 melons and 2 dates to me. The weapon spirit villain said proudly. That's true, you are a treasured boy. Lu Xuan laughed sarcastically and cursed in his heart. The one in front of me is the Heilao Chamber of Commerce, the second largest force in Liang realm. Its footprints extend to all the worlds, so it naturally looks down upon ordinary treasures. It seems like your talent is quite good. Coupled with your spiritual cultivation ability, you have a bright future. A thoughtful look appeared on the vague facial features of the little man. Do you remember what I told you in Guyuxuan before? I don't dare to forget, Lu Xuan said quickly. I said that I will give you an opportunity when you have a breakthrough in cultivation. With your current strength in the middle stage of pill formation, it is barely enough. I have an incomplete cave in my hand, which is located in the void. The space there is not stable enough to establish teleportation. You can only enter the formation with your physical cultivation. There are extraterrestrial demons spying around the cave, as well as mysterious void monsters, etc., which are still somewhat risky for the pill-forming monks, So I told you to give them to you after you break through in cultivation. What do you think? Chapter 764 Yuanzi ran. Incomplete cave. A trace of surprise appeared on Lu Xuan's face. Don't be like that. It's just a fragment of a cave. Very small, just a little bigger than an ordinary blessed land. But the spiritual treasure land is better. The little spirit of the weapon was embarrassed by Lu Xuan's expression. Bigger than a blessed land? That's beyond my imagination. Lu Xuan expressed his shock just right. I gave you the incomplete cave, mainly because I want you to help me cultivate spiritual plants in the future. The little spirit of the weapon lowered his head and said, there is such a good thing. Isn't this a double happiness? Lu Xuan was calm on the surface, but he was ecstatic in his heart. Not only could he get an incomplete cave from this spirit, it would also let him cultivate spiritual plants. The spiritual plants that can be entrusted to cultivate by the spirit of the weapon must be at least 7th grade spiritual plants, right? He guessed in his heart. Senior just said that there are demons lurking around the cave, and there are also void monsters? He asked aloud. That's right. Plus there are space cracks everywhere. The risk is still not small. That's why I want to let you improve your strength before handing it over to you. The spirit of the weapon whispered. With my current middle stage of Jinden, I can't completely protect myself. Almost okay. If it's the late stage of Jinden, it would be even better. The risk can be minimized. Lu Xuan lowered his head and thought. He really wanted to get the incomplete cave from the spirit of the weapon, but he was cautious and didn't want to take too much risk. With the light ball, he naturally hoped to minimize the risk. If you are worried that you are not strong enough, you can come to me later. I haven't got the spirit seed yet. The spirit of the weapon coughed and said, okay, come to me after you get the spirit seed. I will definitely go to the incomplete cave to cultivate the spirit plant for you. Hearing this, Lu Xuan felt much more relaxed and promised quickly. Other spiritual plant masters in the Chamber of Commerce are not as good as you, so I will definitely leave it to you. When the time comes, the spirit of the weapon belittled the other spiritual plant masters and asked Lu Xuan to go to the auction first. The light group rewards are still not enough, otherwise I would enter the incomplete cave with absolute confidence. Lu Xuan thought to himself. Fortunately, the spirit of the weapon promised to give him the cave, otherwise he would rather take the risk to get the cave first. With anticipation, he flew to a black meteorite and activated the restriction on the meteorite to cover his body and appearance. I still have to get those high-level spiritual seeds and other treasures at the auction first, he muttered to himself. After half an hour, more and more cultivators appeared on the meteorite, and only a few were still in the air. Lu Xuan saw from afar that Zhang Jiuzhang flew to the center of the starry sky, and a clear voice was heard by every cultivator. I'm Zhang Jiuzhang. Nice to meet you, fellow Taoists. Those cultivators who have entered the interior of the magic weapon before should know me. I will host the next auction. The auction is divided into 2 parts. The first is a branch venue, which is composed of major branches. The types of treasures auctioned in each auction are different. For example, in the magic weapon venue, there will only be magic weapons of various grades, ranging from 3rd grade to 6th grade. As for the final general meeting, the treasures that appear are all the best of this auction, mainly 6th grade, with a small number of 7th grade treasures, and a small number of 5th grade treasures, all of which are relatively rare types in the cultivation world. I guarantee that you will not be disappointed. The meteorites under your feet will continue to show information about treasures from various branches in advance. It is up to you to decide which treasure to compete for, Zhang Jiuzhang said gently. As for the rules in the auction, there is only one main rule, which is to strictly prohibit forced buying and selling. I don't need to say anything about robbing treasures. His words caused a lot of laughter. The cultivators present had a lot of knowledge about the auction, held by the Halao Chamber of Commerce. There were 2 or 3 Yuanings engines in charge, not to mention that they were all inside the room at Weapon Spirit. As long as it had a random thought, it could control the life and death of most cultivators. Okay, without further ado, the auction officially begins. I wish all Taoist friends can get the treasures they want. Zhang Jiuzhang laughed loudly. One after another, the stands floated up from the center of the void, each shining with precious light, dazzling and eye-catching. The cultivators present rushed to the stands they were interested in. Among them, the types of magic tools, elixirs, and exercises attracted the most cultivators. Xuan naturally came to the stands related to spiritual plants. A gentle female cultivator smiled at the many cultivators who kept gathering. The female cultivator had the cultivation base of the early stage of Jinden, and she exuded a natural aura, which made people feel friendly. "Hello, fellow Taoists. I'm Kington. I will host the spiritual plant branch," she said simply, and a pure white spiritual medicine appeared in front of everyone. The spiritual medicine exuded misty water vapor, and was full of vitality. This is a 4th grade ice jade lotus, which contains rich water spirit aura, and can be used to refine top grade healing elixirs. The starting price is 5,000 lower grade spiritual stones, and each bid must not be less than 300 spiritual stones. As soon as the female cultivator finished speaking, several cultivators rushed to grab it. "I offer 6,000 spiritual stones. 6,500. 7,000. This ice jade lotus is very useful to me, and I hope you will help me. 8,000. Some cultivators were not used to this kind of behavior and directly raised the price by 1,000 spiritual stones. The price soared all the way until the number of cultivators bidding after 10,000 gradually decreased. In the end, the 4th grade ice jade lotus was sold for 12,000 lower grade spiritual stones. Xuan stood aside in silence. The treasures that appeared at the spiritual plant branch were mainly mature spiritual plants, occasionally mixed with other things. Slowly, a 4th grade spiritual seed appeared on the stands. The spiritual plant species are relatively common in the cultivation world. He did not rush to make a move, and waited patiently for the treasure he liked. "Here it comes." After a while, the gentle female cultivator took out a large piece of pale green spiritual soil. From a distance, one could sense the pure vitality hidden in the spiritual soil. This piece of high quality spiritual soil in front of us is called Yuanxi soil. Yuanxi soil comes from the blessed land of the cave. It is rich in spiritual energy and suitable for planting most high level spiritual plants. Taking into account its efficacy, weight and other factors, the starting price of Yuanxi soil is 50,000 low-grade spiritual stones, and each bid must not be less than 2,000 spiritual stones. The crisp and pleasant voice of the female cultivator reached everyone's ears. Xuan was quite tempted. After getting the list of auction treasures in advance, he had a strong idea to get this Yuanxi soil. The cave currently has several kinds of spiritual soil: Wuling soil, 5-color soil, a small amount of Yan soil, thunder attributed sand and gravel from the mysterious medicine garden, and resentful spirit mud and ghost mud meat moved to the new cave. But as the grade of spiritual plants becomes higher and higher, these spiritual soils gradually seem not enough. This large area and strong and nourishing Yuanxi soil are extremely suitable for those high-level spiritual plants in the cave. 55,000. 58,000. Among the cultivators present, only a few spiritual plant masters were competing for this piece of Yuanxi soil. The price rose at a normal rate, and after it reached more than 60,000, few people bid. 75,000 low-grade spiritual stones. Xuan waited for a while and shouted directly. His high price scared everyone away, and the Yuanxi soil was successfully obtained. Chapter 765, Fuyan Tao. After bidding for the Yuanxiren, Xuan scanned the auction information under the meteorite. Seeing that there was no treasure he was interested in, he came to the Chamber of Commerce to pay the spirit stones and obtain the treasure. After each treasure was auctioned, the Chamber of Commerce would make a special mark under the bidder's meteorite to avoid mistakes during the handover. Xuan controlled the meteorite, hiding his appearance, and came to a late giant and cultivator. Behind the cultivator, there was an old man with red hair and red beard lying leisurely on a stone chair. It was the Yuaning's engine who was in charge of the Chamber of Commerce. Xuan saluted him from a distance, and said to the giant and cultivator in front of him, "Dao, I'm here to take the Yuanxiren. Here are 750 medium-grade spirit stones. Please take a look." After that, a pile of medium-grade spirit stones with a brilliant aura floated in front of the cultivator. The number of spirit stones is correct. Congratulations to Dao for getting this piece of Yuanxiren. After the giant and cultivator confirmed it, he handed the Yuanxiren to Xuan. Lu Xuan's spiritual sense swept over, nodded to him, and drove the meteorite to continue flying to the crowd of cultivators. Half an hour later, he looked at the peach seed that appeared in the hands of the gentle female cultivator, and his eyes lit up. Here it comes. This spiritual seed was the target he had already confirmed, and he was very eager to possess it. Dear Taoist friends, the spiritual seed in my hand is called Fuyan Peach, a 6th grade spiritual plant. Year type, it can continue to grow within the limit of life. The spiritual peach it produces contains rich and pure yin energy and tastes extremely delicious. During the growth process of peach wood, magical patterns will appear on its own. It is a top grade material for refining high level talismans. The longer the age, the better the quality of the talismans refined. The highest talisman can be refined into a 6th grade talisman. The starting price is 70,000 low-grade spiritual stones, and each bid increase must not be less than 3,000. The gentle female cultivator removed the simple restriction on the spiritual seed that maintained its vitality and presented it to the cultivators without hiding it. A 6th grade annual spiritual plant that can also bear spiritual fruit, which means that you can harvest spiritual peach light balls for a long time. When the peach wood reaches its limit, you can harvest another light ball as a reward. And this Fuyan peach is a top grade material for refining talismans, and the light balls harvested are very likely related to talismans. Lu Xuan happened to be interested in collecting this kind of spiritual plants recently, so he naturally would not let go of this 6th grade Fuyan peach spiritual seed. 80,000 low grade spiritual stones. After the auction began, a cultivator immediately shouted loudly, 85,000 low-grade spiritual stones. Not only spiritual plant masters were attracted by this Fuyan peach spiritual seed, but also many cultivators who were proficient in making talismans. They would naturally find a way to obtain the high-grade peach wood that can be used to refine high-level talismans. As for how to cultivate it after obtaining it, that would be something they would have to worry about later. The auction price quickly soared to 110,000 low-grade spiritual stones, which had exceeded the value of an ordinary 6th grade spiritual seed. 120,000 low-grade spirit stones. I'm Fu Bingsun, an elder of the Fu family. I'm determined to obtain this 6th grade spirit seed of Fuyan peach. I hope that fellow Taoists can give me some favor. A deep voice reached everyone's ears. Everyone looked in the direction of the voice. A tall middle-aged cultivator stood calmly in the center of the meteorite, not afraid of the various gazes scattered from all directions. The cultivator had the cultivation base of the late giant on stage, and there was a huge phantom of a talisman behind him. The phantom kept changing, and seemed to contain infinite mysteries. Fu family? Is it the world-famous talisman-making family in Liang realm? That's right. All the cultivators of the Fu family are proficient in talismans and can refine hundreds of high-level talismans. Fu Bingsun is also an elder of the Fu family. Naturally, he would not let go of this natural talisman spirit plant. The appearance of the middle-aged talisman master caused many cultivators to discuss, and several interested people were obviously hesitant. The Fu family was really big and powerful, and had become a famous family in Liang territory by making talismans. Several people had no confidence in competing with him, but Lu Xuan was eager to get the seeds, so he naturally ignored those 130,000 low-grade spirit stones. He raised the price by 10,000 low-grade spirit stones without any hesitation. My fellow Taoist, there should be very few talisman masters in Liang territory who can make the most of this Fuyan peach. You should consider whether you have the confidence to refine high-grade talismans of equal or even higher value after obtaining the Fuyan peach spirit seeds. The giant and cultivator sent a voice message to Lu Xuan, and it was unclear whether the voice was persuasion or warning. After that, he shouted to Kington, I'm willing to pay 140,000 low-grade spirit stones. You don't understand this. Although I may not be able to refine a high-grade talisman, the value I get will definitely be much higher than the spirit plant itself. Lu Xuan thought to himself. Dao Alfu, I think there is one thing you must understand. This is first of all a spiritual seed, and secondly a material for making talismans. Dao should consider cultivating the spiritual plant first, and then refining talismans. The Fu family should not have any powerful spiritual plant masters, right? Lu Xuan sent a message to Fu Bingsun in a calm voice. Fu Bingsun was speechless, and a hint of annoyance flashed in his eyes. Add another 5,000. He shouted to the gentle female cultivator. 150,000. Lu Xuan did not hesitate, and immediately followed him, with 5,000 more spiritual stones than him. 153,000. The middle-aged cultivator pondered for a while, and raised the price again. Although he was eager to get this Fuyan Peach spiritual seed, he had to consider the cost issue. The current price was already a lot of premium, and he could even bid for a 6th grade magic weapon. 160,000. Lu Xuan shouted again. He could accept any premium. Anyway, the light bowl would give him more returns. When Fu Bingsun heard the price, he snorted coldly, and a misty black fog floated out from the edge of the meteorite, covering his figure and appearance, and flew to the other treasure's branch venue. The 6th grade Fuyan Peach was obtained. Lu Xuan's mouth curled up, and he was happy. He went over to hand over the spirit stone, and took the Fuyan Peach spirit seed. The spirit seed was the size of a baby's head, full of vitality, with a faint yin energy lingering on the surface, and countless strange wrinkles formed complex patterns, like natural runes. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, it was inconvenient for him to plant the spirit seed, so he had to temporarily put it into the gluttonous insect capsule. Not long after returning to the spirit plant branch venue, Kington took out another light golden spirit seed. Under the thin seed coat, there seemed to be a fist-sized monkey embryo curled up inside. Looking closely, the embryo turned into a golden shadow again. The spiritual seed in my hand is called the heart monkey fruit, a 5th grade spiritual plant, which is unique to the 8 demon clan. When taken, it can temper the body and refine high-level monkey wine. Kington said softly. The starting price is 18,000 low-grade spiritual stones, and each bid must not be less than 1,000 low-grade spiritual stones. Old seed. Lu Xuan thought to himself. It was the heart monkey fruit he had cultivated before, the main material for refining 8 demon wine, and it was just right to take it into his pocket. After all, the spiritual wine in the cave is indispensable. When cultivating spiritual plants is tiring, you have to look at it to refresh yourself and satisfy your appetite. Fortunately, there are not many cultivators interested in this heart monkey fruit spiritual seed, and Lu Xuan finally successfully bid for it with 29,000 low-grade spiritual stones. Chapter 766. Wangxiang Grass Seed Condensation Method, Changing Stars and Changing Sun Sword Grass. After bidding for the heart monkey fruit spirit seed, none of the treasures in the back of the spirit plant branch venue aroused Lu Xuan's interest. Time passed, and after half a day, the auction at the main venue officially began. Lu Xuan came to the center of the void with strong expectations. He had already known the list of treasures, and he knew that there were several good treasures in it. Dear Taoist friends, I wonder if the appetizers just now can satisfy you. If you don't get the treasure you like, this main meal will definitely not disappoint you. It was Zhang Jiuzong who presided over the main venue. His clear voice rang in the starry sky and reached the ears of every cultivator. Lu Xuan looked around and found that the number of cultivators entering the main venue had been greatly reduced. Most of the foundation building cultivators did not have enough financial resources, so they had to watch from a distance. Almost all those who stayed were Jinden Zenren, and there were also many Yuanying Zenjin. Lu Xuan even saw the 2 Yuanying cultivators he had seen inside the weapon spirit before. The first treasure to be auctioned at the venue is a 6th grade flying sword, named Bingpo Zhuanggang Sword, which is made by collecting a large amount of 1,000-year-old ice souls, and can be used as a magic weapon. The starting price is 120,000 low-grade spirit stones, and each bid must not be less than 4,000 spirit stones. A white jade ice sword appeared in front of Zhang Jiuzang. The sword body was crystal clear, and it exuded countless sharp sword energy. The appearance of this top-grade 6th grade flying sword immediately triggered a scramble among many cultivators, and the price soared all the way, until it slowed down after 250,000. In the end, it was sold at a price of nearly 300,000 low-grade spirit stones, and was obtained by a sword cultivator who had reached the perfect stage of Jinden. TSK, there are quite a few wealthy cultivators. Lu Xuan watched the show from the side. He had already locked onto his target, and had little interest in the other treasures. He only occasionally called out a price at the beginning to increase his sense of participation. One high-level treasure after another appeared in turn, and each one attracted many cultivators to scramble for it, and none of them failed to be sold. Zhang Jiuzhang was full of enthusiasm. He took out a bright yellow jade slip and said gently, "The method of condensing seeds of high-level spiritual plants records the corresponding method of condensing seeds of the 5th grade spiritual plant Huangxiang grass. Many Taoist friends must know about Huangxiang grass. It contains rich and pure demonic power, and is very attractive to demons and monsters. It can be used to raise high-level spiritual beasts. After long-term consumption, it can improve the strength of spiritual beasts, and purify the blood of spiritual beasts to a certain extent. Although the spiritual plant is 5th grade, the method of condensing seeds is extremely rare. Therefore, the starting price is 80,000 low-grade spiritual stones, and each bid must not be less than 3,000 spiritual stones." As early as he said that the jade slip recorded the method of condensing seeds, Lu Xuan couldn't help but straighten up, looking at the bright yellow jade slip with burning eyes. He has cultivated countless spiritual plants, but so far he has not mastered the method of condensing seeds of any 5th grade spiritual plant. The improved Pure Yang Golden Lotus may have some hope of exploring it, but it is extremely difficult. Therefore, he knows the preciousness of the method of condensing seeds of 5th grade spiritual plants. Moreover, this Huangxiang grass is extremely suitable for raising spirit beasts. There are many high-level spirit beasts in the cave. Once the bloodline grade is improved by eating Huangxiang grass, they can also get rich light balls as rewards, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. While he was thinking, the price of the seed condensing method quickly rose to 140,000 spirit stones. 150,000. He directly raised the price by 10,000 low-grade spirit stones. This price immediately scared off some giant and real people with ordinary financial resources, and only some family and sect cultivators were still raising the price. 160,000 spirit stones. A cold white-haired female cultivator said lightly. The female cultivator did not hide her cultivation and appearance. From the discussions of the surrounding cultivators, Lu Xuan learned that she was the head of a small or medium-sized sect in Liang, and there were many spirit plant masters in the sect. 165,000. A hoarse voice came from the left side of Lu Xuan. 180,000. Lu Xuan was full of confidence, and added more than 10,000 spirit stones in one fell swoop. "Dao, I are so generous, I give up." The hoarse voice transmitted to Lu Xuan. Lu Xuan turned and nodded at him. 185,000. The cold Yuanying female cultivator frowned slightly, hesitated for a while, and finally chose to raise the price by 5,000 spirit stones. As the head of a spiritual plant sect, she naturally knew the precious value of the 5th grade seed condensing method, but now the auction price has exceeded her psychological expectations. In order to obtain the seed condensing method, she had to follow up ruthlessly, hoping that Lu Xuan would give up. But Lu Xuan's reaction was beyond her expectations. Without any hesitation, he raised the price by another 15,000 spirit stones. 200,000. This price caused many cultivators around to talk about it. They couldn't understand why someone would pay such a price for a seed condensing method. If it was a skill, it would be fine, but the seed condensing method? 200,000 twice. 200,000 3 times. Congratulations to this fellow Taoist for obtaining the Huangxiang KO seed condensing method. Zhang Jiuzhang smiled eagerly and blessed Lu Xuan from afar. Lu Xuan looked normal and was extremely happy. The 5th grade seed condensing method was successfully obtained. He harvested countless treasures from the light ball, allowing him to break through to the middle stage of the Jiandan realm with mediocre qualifications. He also possessed many magical treasures, countless spiritual stones in his storage bag, and a strong family. Therefore, he would naturally not miss such a rare opportunity. Even if the price was high, he had to get the desired spiritual seeds and spiritual plant related treasures. Lu Xuan found an opportunity, got the bright yellow jade slip, and then mixed in with the cultivators, waiting quietly. The 6th grade spiritual seed is a special variety. It is a natural sword weapon. It is a heritage treasure of the foreign Xuan sword sect. It is called the sword grass of changing stars and changing suns. After cultivation, it can be sacrificed and refined into a low-level magic weapon. It is connected with the mind and has a powerful power, far exceeding the flying sword magic weapon refined from other external objects. A slender spiritual seed appeared in Zhang Jiuzhang's hand. The spiritual seed was about 3 inches long and shaped like a small sword. It was surrounded by a faint nebula. The sun, moon, and stars were moving in a mysterious trajectory, and the wonderful sword intent could be faintly felt from it. From the Xuan sword sect? Lu Xuan was shocked. He had known for a long time that a 6th grade sword grass spirit seed would appear at the auction, but he didn't expect it to be related to the Xuan sword sect. I don't know how it spread to the outside world, Lu Xuan thought secretly in his heart. According to his understanding, the Xianjian sect has extremely strict management of the sword grass spirit seeds within the sect. Only a few disciples of the sword hall have the right to plant them, and it is strictly forbidden for the sword grass spirit seeds to flow out. 6th grade spirit seeds. Either there is a big problem inside the Xuan sword sect, or there is a sword master who is at least in the late Jiandan stage who died unexpectedly, and he didn't even have time to plant the sword grass spirit seeds. He guessed in his heart, as a disciple of the Xuan sword sect's branch, how could I bear to let the sect's inherited treasure fall into the hands of outsiders? It is our responsibility to take back the sword grass spirit seed. Apart from the fact that the spirit seed itself is a 6th grade sword grass spirit seed, Lu Xuan has a strong sense of belonging to the Xianjian sect where he has been for decades. If he has the opportunity to take back the 6th grade Lixinghuanri sword grass spirit seed for the Xuan sword sect and prevent it from being lost outside, he will naturally do his best to fight for it. Chapter 767, Huangquan Immortal Tree. The starting price of the sun-moving sword grass is 100,000 low-grade spirit stones, and each bid must not be less than 5,000 low-grade spirit stones. The auction begins. Zhang Jiuzhang briefly introduced the 6th grade sword grass spirit seed, paused for a moment, and shouted loudly, 100,000 low-grade spirit stones. The starting price is not much lower than that of ordinary 6th grade spirit seeds. It seems that I will have to bleed a little, Lu Xuan said secretly in his heart. However, there is a reason for the high price. This sun-moving sword grass spirit seed is extremely popular, especially for sword cultivators, who all want to get this natural sword into their pockets. 120,000 low-grade spirit stones. 130,000. In a few breaths, the price rose all the way to 160,000 low-grade spirit stones. The number of cultivators bidding has obviously decreased a lot. 180,000. A sword cultivator in the late Jiandan stage shouted in a deep voice. 188,000. Lu Xuan followed closely and shouted a more auspicious price. 195,000. A cold female voice came from a meteorite on his right. Even though there was a formation to block it, he could still feel the sharp sword intent on her body. 200,000. Lu Xuan raised the price to 200,000 without thinking. After calling out this price, the number of cultivators interested in this sword grass spirit seed of the changing stars and suns suddenly dropped sharply. It was not cost effective for most cultivators to bid for a 6th grade spirit seed with 200,000 spirit stones, even if it was the top variety of the same level. 210,000. The late Jiandan sword cultivator directly raised the price by 10,000, trying to scare Lu Xuan away. But he underestimated Lu Xuan's determination to get this 6th grade sword grass spirit seed. 220,000. Lu Xuan said softly. His voice was neither hurried nor slow, and he could feel his confidence in winning. 220,000 once. The cultivators present were silent. 225,000. After hesitating for a while, the cold voice of the female cultivator sounded again. 230,000. Lu Xuan did not hesitate at all and raised the price again. Congratulations, fellow Taoist. In the end, he successfully got the 6th grade sword grass spirit seed. Taking advantage of the gap in the auction of other high-level treasures, Lu Xuan hurried to get the sword grass spirit seed. I didn't expect that, after leaving the Xianjian sect, I would still be closely related to the Xuan sword sect. Lu Xuan looked at the spirit seed in his hand, smiled, and put it into the gluttonous insect bag. After bidding for the Xinghuanri sword grass spirit seed, He fell silent and watched other cultivators compete for various treasures. Occasionally, one or two treasures that he was very interested in would appear, but after bidding several times, he had to give up in the end. Among the cultivators present, there were many Jinden Zenran and Yuanying Zenjin with outstanding backgrounds, strong wealth, and powerful strength. Although he was also qualified to compete with them, he still had to give priority to spirit seeds. After all, the benefits brought by spirit seeds were many times higher than those treasures. The later the auction went, the higher the rank of the treasures that appeared, and the rarer and more precious they were. In the second half, a mid-level magical power made the competition fierce, and the final price was nearly 5 million, which made Xuan, who was watching the excitement in the corner, stunned. It's still those great cultivators, big families, and big sects who have deep foundations. After decades of farming, I can only say that I'm constantly narrowing the gap between them. Of course, if I get a few more 7th grade spirit seeds, I may be able to surpass them. Thinking of the upcoming 7th grade spirit seeds, Xuan felt that the countless spirit stones in the storage bag were thirsty and eager to try. After slapping a 7th grade flying sword, Zhang, who looked a little excited, took out a spirit seed. The surface of the spirit seed was deep, with deep yellow ripples, and it seemed that there was a grey-yellow river accompanying it. As soon as it appeared, it gave rise to an amazing vision. The river spread downwards, forming a ghost den filled with yin energy and infested with ghosts. The shadow of a towering giant tree took root in the ghost den, and the thick roots were like strange tentacles, constantly penetrating into the infinite bottom of the ghost den. 7th grade spiritual seed. Xuan felt something in his heart. This strange phenomenon is more magnificent than the Yamukingla vine and the 8-layered palace. He said secretly in his heart, looking forward to this 7th grade spiritual seed more and more. This strange phenomenon, could it be the legendary Xuan immortal tree? Oh. Can Taoist friend introduce it to me? I also learned about it from an ancient book. It is said that this spiritual plant can produce magical spiritual fruits, but it is extremely difficult to cultivate. It is difficult to cultivate successfully without a big family or a big sect. As soon as the spiritual seed appeared, it triggered a lot of discussion. Zhang looked around and saw that all the cultivators were attracted by the spiritual seed in their hands and smiled. The thing in Zhang's hand is a 7th grade spiritual seed, named Xuan Immortal Tree. It is said to be obtained from the Xuan Ghost Cave. It is immortal and can only condense into spiritual seeds under extreme circumstances. After the spiritual seed grows and matures, it can produce a 7th grade immortal fruit every once in a while. The immortal fruit has many magical uses, which are closely related to the spiritual plant itself and the cultivation process. The specifics still need to be explored by fellow Taoists. The starting price of the Xuan Immortal Tree spiritual seed is 600,000 low-grade spiritual stones, and each increase in price must not be less than 10,000. The auction begins. 700,000. Xuan took the lead and directly raised the price by 100,000, setting the tone. There are many cultivators who want to get this 7th grade spiritual seed, including Yuanying Zenjin and Jinden Zenran who come from large sects and families. In less than 10 breaths, the price rose to 1.2 million low-grade spiritual stones. 1.3 million. A childish voice sounded, and a small figure appeared on the meteorite. The little man was 3 feet tall, with pale tender skin that looked like it could be blown away. He should have looked cute, but he was sitting cross-legged on the skeletons of thousands of infants. From time to time, a grey-black ghost baby climbed onto his shoulder. Master Yuanying, the Grand Elder of the Yuanying sect. I didn't expect him to come here too. 1,500,000 spirit stones. Fellow Yuanying, you have so many ghost babies. If you produce immortal fruits, can you feed them all? A majestic voice sounded, and a meteorite came in front of everyone. On it stood a half-human half-dragon cultivator. There were densely packed blue dragon scales on his neck and cheeks. Standing on the meteorite, he exuded a strong invisible pressure. So it's you, old King Gyro. What's the matter? Your time is up, and you want to use this immortal fruit to practice ghost cultivation? Master Yuanying sneered, and there was some sarcasm in his words towards the half-human half-dragon cultivator. 1,600,000. Lu Xuan stood in the corner, still hiding his figure, and raised the price by another 100,000. He was not like the two Yuanying's engines who had the confidence to reveal their true appearance. He could only develop in secret and obtain the 7th grade spirit seed in a low profile. The three people's bids immediately scared away the cultivators from other sects and families. Lu Xuan didn't care about anything else. As long as one of the two Yuanying's engines bid, he would directly raise the price by 100,000, spending money like water, as if he didn't care about the spirit stones at all. 2,100,000. After the price climbed to 2 million with difficulty, he raised the price by 100,000 again. This Taoist friend is generous. I'm willing to admit defeat. Yuanying's engine said sinisterly, and a secret spiritual consciousness spread over, but under the restriction of the instrument spirit, it returned without a trace. Thank you for your help, Taoist friend. Lu Xuan changed his voice, and said in a deep voice. Chapter 768 Great Harvest. Lu Xuan's bid successfully won the 7th grade Xuan Immortal Tree Spirit Seed. Although the other two Yuanying's engine were interested in competing for it, the price was far beyond their budget. The premium was too much, so it was better to set their sights on other 7th grade magic tools, intermediate magical powers and other treasures. After he won the spirit seed, he waited for a while, then delivered the spirit stone, and got the spirit seed. After putting the deep spirit seed surrounded by the gray-yellow river into the gluttonous insect capsule, Lu Xuan couldn't help but let out a long sigh. Finally got this 7th grade spirit seed. Xuan Immortal Tree. According to what Dao Yaozang just said, it is most likely an evil spirit plant. If it is placed in Fingyuan Star Cave and handed over to the incarnation for cultivation, I'm really a little worried. He thought to himself. Wait until I understand the cultivation conditions of this 7th grade spirit plant before making a decision. If it doesn't work, I will wait until I get that incomplete cave. Anyway, the cultivation cycle of the 7th grade spirit plant is often hundreds of years, so this little time is not a big deal. Lu Xuan thought in his heart and returned to the crowd silently. Little guy, you actually took the photo of the Yellow Spring Immortal Tree Spirit Seed. It's something. Suddenly, a childish but senior voice came into Lu Xuan's ears. Senior? Lu Xuan's heart was slightly shocked, and then he suddenly realized and whispered. All the cultivators present were inside the high-level magic weapon spirit. The restrictions on the meteorite were also arranged by it, so naturally, every move could not be hidden from it. Yes, just talk normally, I'm here, so you don't have to worry about being heard by others. Lu Xuan heard it and nodded gently. That 7th grade spirit seed was indeed taken by me. I really like it too much, so I didn't hesitate to spend all my money to fight for the spirit seed. He found a relatively reasonable excuse for himself. I saw that you have just reached the stage of dawn formation, and the immortal tree is particularly difficult to cultivate, so I reminded you. Remember to find a piece of high quality yin attribute spirit field before planting it, and you must use yellow spring spirit liquid to irrigate it. Yellow spring spirit liquid? Lu Xuan couldn't help asking. In the early stage, you can use spiritual liquids with similar properties to cultivate it, but in the later stage, you must use the yellow spring water, or related spiritual liquids. The spirit of the weapon reminded Lu Xuan in a rare serious tone. Thank you for your kind reminder, senior. Lu Xuan hurriedly expressed his gratitude to the spirit of the weapon. No need to thank me, no need to thank me. I'm sure you can cultivate the yellow spring immortal tree. When it bears spiritual fruit, let me taste it. I won't eat it for nothing. The spirit of the weapon said crisply, and Lu Xuan could even vaguely hear the sound of it swallowing saliva. Okay, as long as I can cultivate it, I will definitely leave a spiritual fruit for you, senior. Lu Xuan promised the spirit of the treasure building. This spirit took good care of him, and was always generous. It was okay to give him a 7th grade spiritual fruit. Moreover, the main reason why he wanted to get this 7th grade spiritual seed was to harvest the light ball, and the spiritual fruit was secondary. By the way, senior, I also won the seed condensing method of the Wangxiang grass. It's a pity that there is a seed condensing method, but no spiritual seeds to cultivate. I wonder if you have the spiritual seeds. Since the spirit of the weapon knew which treasures were auctioned, Lu Xuan simply asked boldly. After the auction, If he wants me to get the spiritual seeds of the Wangxiang grass, he will have to go through the treasure house of the Heilao Chamber of Commerce headquarters, or collect them from other branches. It is better to take this opportunity to ask the spirit of the weapon directly. The spiritual seeds of the Wangxiang grass? I don't like that thing. I probably won't keep it. The seed condensing method should be put up by other cultivators at the Chamber of Commerce auction. I won't take out such a thing, the spirit of the weapon said with some disdain. However, I know where the spiritual seeds of the Wangxiang grass are abundant. When I go to the outer domain to play and pass by there one day, I will help you find a few. It said casually. No need to be grateful, just think of it as my advance payment to you. I'll have to trouble you to help me cultivate spiritual plants in the future. The spirit of the weapon saw that Lu Xuan wanted to express his gratitude and stopped him directly. Okay senior. Lu Xuan bowed respectfully, secretly impressed by the thickness of the spirit's thigh. Of course, this is also based on the premise that he has shown a certain value. If it weren't for his extraordinary spiritual plant attainments, the spirit of the weapon would not have favored him, appointed him as a guest of the Chamber of Commerce, and would not have handed over the incomplete cave to him. While the two were talking, the auction was gradually coming to an end. The last few auction treasures even attracted several Yuanying Zhenjin to fight on the spot, which shows how attractive the treasures are. This made Lu Xuan, who bought the Huangquan Immortal Tree Spirit Seed at a high price, seem less abrupt, and even in the eyes of many cultivators, he didn't have much impression. After the auction, Lu Xuan didn't rush to leave. As usual, there will be a small game after the auction. The weapon spirit will provide 3 rare treasures in the world. Once a cultivator can identify the treasure, he can easily take it for himself. Although Lu Xuan is now wealthy and has many treasures, he will not miss the opportunity to get higher level spiritual seeds for free. Last time, after the auction, he got the ghost eating evil vine for free, and even took this opportunity to enter the site of the weapon spirit and become a guest of the Chamber of Commerce. Unfortunately, the 3 treasures this time have nothing to do with spiritual plants. Lu Xuan had no choice but to give up and watch other cultivators take turns. Fortunately, no cultivator took any treasure, which made him feel much better. When leaving the starry sky, he flew to the entrance while counting the gains of this trip. What a great harvest. The 5th grade Wangxiang grass seed condensation method, the 6th grade Fuyan peach and Yixing sword grass spirit seeds, and the 7th grade Huangquan immortal tree spirit seeds. Compared with them, the high-level spirit soil Yuangxi soil and the 5th grade Zanyuan fruit spirit seeds are almost negligible. Of course, the spiritual stones paid were not small. The 7th grade Huangquan immortal tree spirit seeds alone cost 2.1 million low-grade spiritual stones. But this is understandable. The 7th grade is already in the Yuanying category, which is a qualitative change compared to the 6th grade spirit seeds. Its value is also far higher than the 6th grade. It is quite good to be able to get it smoothly. As for the premium part, with the existence of the light ball, Lu Xuan is confident that he can earn it back 10 times or 100 times. The 7th grade spirit seeds, plus the other treasures, cost a total of more than 2.8 million low-grade spirit stones. The huge wealth accumulated through the grocery store for so many years is almost at the bottom. However, there are many spiritual plants in the cave spirit field that continuously provide light ball rewards, so there is no need to worry about not having spiritual stones in the future. When a whale falls, everything comes to life. The appearance of the Liji Cave Secret Realm has made this auction much larger than the last one. The few spirit seeds I won may have come from the Secret Realm. Lu Xuan secretly guessed in his heart. It would be great if there were more of those new high-level secret realms. He even had such an absurd thought in his mind. Anyway, before he was absolutely sure, he would not explore those risky secret realms. If he did not fight for opportunities, he would not have to worry about his life. As long as a few high-level spirit seeds flowed out of the secret realm and fell into his hands, he would be satisfied. Of course, this also depends on luck. After all, not every cultivator is willing to give up the opportunities and treasures they have fought for. When his strength becomes a little stronger and the treasures become a little more, Lu Xuan is still willing to personally take the spirit seeds. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 769 Liu Xian Lu. Finally I'm back to the cave. Lu Xuan muttered to himself as he sensed the familiar aura of the formation not far ahead. He teleported from the interior of the weapon spirit back to the branch of the star-picking chamber of commerce, and then returned to the Thunderfire Star Cave without stopping. After the void nightmare eyes roamed around and found nothing unusual, Lu Xuan opened the mysterious crystal array of 10,000 barriers and entered the cave. As soon as he appeared, many spirit beasts who sensed his familiar aura gathered around him. Several small tree girls surrounded him and cried, landing on his shoulders from time to time, showing great enthusiasm. The same was true for King Yulin, Thunder Dragon and other spirit beasts. Lu Xuan took out some spirit fruits and spirit dew to feed the spirit beasts, and then came to the spirit field. He first took out the large piece of Yuanxi soil, and with a move of his spiritual consciousness, the Yuanxi soil was evenly spread and integrated into the core spirit field area. The upgrade of Wuling soil to Yuanxi soil can slightly promote the growth of these high-level spirit plants. Lu Xuan felt the rich vitality in the spirit soil and muttered softly. Then, he took out the yin-yang treasure bottle he bought in the branch building of the Chamber of Commerce. After a little sacrifice to this yin-yang treasure, he was able to master its use. With a thought, 2 spiritual energy spirals, one black and one white, floated out. The spiritual energy was tightly attached to each other, and they were clearly separated from each other, and they merged together in a very wonderful way. Lu Xuan controlled the yin-yang spiritual energy to penetrate into the yin-yang fruit spirit seed. In the mind perception, after being nourished by the black and white spiritual energy, the spirit seed gradually exuded a strong vitality, which became more and more rich and lively, full of vigorous and upward power. Finally, I can start to cultivate this quasi 7th grade yin-yang fruit. Lu Xuan sensed the gratifying changes coming from the spirit seed, and a smile appeared on his face. He did not rest, and continued to plant the 5th grade heart monkey fruit, and then came to the sword grass spirit field area. After the 2 5th grade sword grasses matured, this large area of spirit field currently only planted the 3rd grade thunder sword grass, the sword raising gourd, and a few successfully improved 4th grade thousand thunder sword grass. He took out the 6th grade sword grass spirit seed of the moving stars, and changing the sun and carefully planted it in the spiritual soil. Because of the presence of the Xuan sword monument, a top grade sword art treasure, it is more appropriate to plant the sword grass spirit seed here than in the core spiritual field. After planting it, Lu Xuan's mind moved, and grey-black clouds quietly emerged above the spirit seed. Strands of spiritual rain fell down, subtly infiltrating into the spirit seed. Lu Xuan's mind was focused on it. The sword grass of the moving stars and changing the sun is a 6th grade spiritual plant, a treasure inherited from the Xuan sword sect, a major sword art sect in the Xuan realm. During its growth, it needs to be cultivated with corresponding sword techniques. After maturity, it can be obtained as a 6th grade natural sword weapon with great power and the ability to move stars and change the Sunday. My sword can move stars and change the Sunday. The difficulty of cultivating the 6th grade sword grass is several levels higher than that of the 5th grade sword grass. At the same time, it must be cultivated with corresponding high-level sword techniques. Lu Xuan looked worried. Fortunately, he had the clear sword heart, which could help him comprehend the corresponding sword tactics for cultivating the sword grass of changing stars and changing suns, but it would take quite a long time. But since he could get the light ball reward, Lu Xuan didn't care about the length of time. His mind penetrated into the spirit seed, as if he had entered a vast starry sky in an instant, with the stars, the sun and the moon moving in mysterious trajectories, leaving powerful sword intentions wherever they passed. After a long time, his spiritual consciousness withdrew, and a faint sense of fatigue came from his sea of consciousness. 6th grade sword tactics. If it weren't for the clear sword heart, I'm afraid it would be difficult to get started in visualization for a lifetime. Thinking of this, Lu Xuan couldn't help shaking his head. Take your time. He took out the 6th grade Fuyin peach spirit seed and the 7th grade Xuan immortal tree spirit seed and planted them in the spirit soil. With his mind concentrated, detailed information about the 2 spirit plants suddenly appeared in his mind. Fuyin peach, a 6th grade spirit plant, a year-old spirit plant, requires pure and rich yin attributed spiritual energy, spiritual liquid and spiritual soil to nourish and cultivate. The spirit peach produced contains pure yin vitality, which is especially loved by ghost cultivators and yin beasts. During the growth process, the spiritual plant will absorb yin ki to condense magical runes, so its peach wood is a top grade material for refining high-level talismans. The longer the age, the better the quality of the talismans refined. I was born with a talent that must be useful, and the 1000 yins absorb all the talismans. The yellow spring immortal tree, a 7th grade spiritual seed, is condensed from the origin of the ghost cave heaven. It needs to be watered with high-level yellow spring spiritual liquid, and has extremely high requirements for the growth environment. Every once in a while, the spiritual plant will produce an immortal fruit. The immortal fruit has many wonderful uses, involving the road of life and death. Do you want to know the secret of immortality? Although these 2 spiritual plants are not completely evil spiritual plants, they need pure yin energy during their growth process, so they are more suitable for cultivation in the Fingyu and Star Cave spiritual field. It's just that the 7th grade Xuan immortal tree spiritual seed is too precious. I'm a little worried about letting the incarnation cultivate it. Lu Xuan thought secretly in his heart, and he would make a decision after collecting the spiritual liquid closely related to Xuan. After planting several high-level spiritual seeds obtained at the auction, Lu Xuan felt a sense of satisfaction in his heart. This trip took a long time. He carefully examined the details of each spiritual plant and performed various basic cultivation techniques from time to time so that they could be taken care of and cultivated meticulously. The Jingping willow is mature. With his mind focused, Lu Xuan found that the translucent progress bar below the 5th grade Jingping willow was completely full. The green willow branches stretched out, exuding a fresh and natural breath, which made people feel comfortable and cozy when they smelled it, as if every pore of the body was soaked in the high-quality spiritual liquid. Deep in the spiritual soil, the roots of the spiritual plants were intertwined, forming a spindle shape. At first glance, it looked like a willow branch was inserted into a strange treasure bottle. Lu Xuan carefully pulled up the Jingping willow by its roots and concentrated his mind on the green willow branches. Jingping willow, a 5th grade spiritual plant, comes from a foreign Buddhist resort. It is nourished by pure spiritual springs and spiritual liquid. It has a powerful effect of nourishing the soul and body. It has a strong healing effect and can bring the dead back to life and turn bones into flesh. It can refine corresponding elixirs or treasures. Good quality, not bad. Lu Xuan made a simple comment, and his attention was completely attracted by the white light ball that quietly emerged below. Reaching out and gently touching it, the light ball silently shattered and turned into tiny light spots all over the sky. Countless light spots quickly condensed into a river of light and poured into Lu Xuan's body. Then, a thought flashed through his mind. Harvest a 5th grade Jingping willow and obtain the 6th grade treasure willow fairy dew. The thought flashed through his mind, and a ball of green spiritual liquid appeared in front of Lu Xuan. The spiritual liquid had a light green spiritual aura floating out, emitting a clear and spiritual breath from afar. When the aura swept over, the whole body could not help but feel lighter, as if the filth and turbidity in every acupoint in the body were washed away. Lu Xuan's mind was focused on the green spiritual liquid, and he immediately learned its detailed information. Liu Xian Lu, a 6th grade spiritual brew, is brewed from a large amount of 1000-year-old spiritual willow essence. After swallowing it, it can cleanse the body of the cultivator, making the flesh and blood round and unified. At the same time, it has a strong nourishing effect on the soul and can strengthen the spiritual consciousness. Right square bracket. Chapter 770 The 5 Element. 6th grade spiritual brew can nourish the soul and body and strengthen the spiritual consciousness. Take a sip first to taste it. A look of joy appeared on Lu Xuan's face, and a thin stream of green water separated from the willow fairy dew and flew into his mouth. As soon as the spiritual liquid entered his stomach, Lu Xuan felt a wisp of pure spiritual breath generated in his dantian, and the breath flowed through his limbs and bones, and finally merged into the depths of his sea of consciousness. The soul was washed by the pure spiritual breath, and suddenly became extremely clear, and the heart was like a mirror, without any dust. He took a deep breath, as if he spit out all the turbid air hidden in the corners of his body, and his whole body was light and agile, with a feeling of floating in the air. Although the taste is not as strong and mellow as the 8 demon wine, it is better in the long aftertaste, and has a stronger nourishing effect. Lu Xuan compared this 6th grade Willow Fairy Dew with the 5th grade 8 demon wine. The 2 high grade spiritual brews have their own advantages, but the Willow Fairy Dew is better overall. After returning to the Thunderfire Star Cave, he stayed in the cave with peace of mind, rarely went out, cultivated spiritual plants, and raised spiritual beasts every day. In the rest of his spare time, he practiced martial arts and magical powers, refined elixirs and magical instruments, and his life was simple and fulfilling. A month passed in a blink of an eye, and Lu Xuan planned to go to Fingyuan Star Cave to see those evil spiritual plants. He simply packed up and came to the 5th floor of Fingyuan Star Cave after several twists and turns. The filthy sheep mountains. Lu Xuan relied on the void nightmare eyes to actively avoid passing monks, and entered the cave quietly. In an elegant room deep in the cave, the incarnation Lingu seemed to have a feeling, opened his eyes, and the surrounding dark spiritual energy was all integrated into his body. He sensed Lu Xuan's breath, took the initiative to greet him, and saluted Lu Xuan respectfully. "I haven't seen you for a while, and your cultivation has improved a bit," Lu Xuan teased. After all, this incarnation was refined from the top grade holy infant fruit. He had good talent, and made rapid progress in practicing yin-related martial arts and magical powers. When he came again, his cultivation was much stronger than last time. Of course, this growth rate is far from enough compared to the light ball. Where is the big meatball? Lu Xuan's spiritual sense swept around, but he did not find any trace of the flesh spirit god. Lingu nodded slightly, and replied in a hoarse voice. He went to the nearby mountains to find food. Then, his spiritual power circulated, and a blood-colored mark flew out, turning into a blood light, and disappearing in the distance. Lu Xuan's mind entered the body, and learned that this blood-colored mark was a small secret technique on the 6th grade blood nerve, which could be used to contact the flesh spirit god who was a blood evil spirit. In less than half a minute, the flesh spirit god jumped all the way to the outside of the cave. It was already familiar with the cave formation, and entered the cave smoothly. As soon as it saw Lu Xuan, it jumped in front of him in an instant, and the pink and white pupils on the top of the bull looked at him steadily, as if afraid that Lu Xuan would suddenly disappear. Okay, I brought you the best flesh and blood this time." Lu Xuan took out a piece of flesh and blood from the meat mountain monk, and threw it to the flesh spirit god. "It seems that you have been doing well outside during this period." Lu Xuan took advantage of the gap between it devouring flesh and blood to notice that there were many bloodstains of different sizes on its fur and mouth corners, and couldn't help but sigh. After the flesh spirit god was released for a period of time, its strength increased faster than staying in the cave, and there was a faint fierce aura. Of course, it looked very well behaved in front of Lu Xuan. Lu Xuan entered the spiritual field, and isolated a piece of the spiritual field to prevent the power of the ghosts and flesh from polluting the pure yin energy in the spiritual field. Then he planted the yin peach spirit seeds in the spiritual soil. After planting, he inspected each evil spirit plant one by one, and took out the ghosts and flesh bones from time to time to meet the various subtle needs of the spirit plants as much as possible. Then, he entered the illusion 5-element array, and took out the 5-element fruit spirit seeds that were placed in this 5th grade array, and induced and stimulated by the power of the 5-element. More than 10 spirit seeds have been screened several times, and have already undergone multiple mutations. They are only a step away from being improved into 5th grade spirit seeds. He planted all the spiritual seeds in the spiritual soil, and concentrated his mind on the spiritual seeds. He immediately learned the detailed information of all the spiritual seeds. 5-element fruit, mutated 4th grade spiritual plant. 5-element fruit, mutated 4th grade spiritual plant. Compared with the previous spiritual seeds, there was no qualitative change. Just when Lu Xuan thought that the improvement had failed, a new idea emerged in his mind. 5-element illusion fruit, 5th grade spiritual plant. 4th grade 5-element fruit was transformed under the long-term induction and stimulation of the power of the 5-element illusion formation. The spiritual plant follows the principle of mutual generation and mutual restraint of the 5-element. When the 5-element change, it needs to be cultivated with the power of the 5-element to promote the growth of the spiritual plant. When the spiritual fruit matures, it contains rich power of the 5-element and can be used as the main material for refining the 5-element pill. The effect of the refined pill is stronger than that of the ordinary 5-element pill. At the same time, the spiritual fruit contains a phantom spirit aura, which can assist in practicing the magic of illusion after taking it. Finally, the improvement was successful. Lu Xuan was overjoyed. After the Pure Yang Golden Lotus, he mastered a method to obtain 5th grade spiritual seeds stably, so he no longer had to worry about not having light balls to harvest. The 5-element fantasy fruit has a certain magical aura, which is probably related to the long-term nourishment of the illusion 5-element formation. Lu Xuan thought secretly in his heart as he played with the 5-element fantasy fruit spirit seed with a vague illusion in his hand. In his perception, some of the remaining mutated 5-element fruit spirit seeds have become waste seeds and can be used to feed the demon ghost vine. The rest of the intact quality ones will continue to be placed in the illusion 5-element formation for nourishment and induction until they fail or are improved to 5th grade 5-element fantasy fruit spirit seeds. Lu Xuan did not rush to leave, but stayed in the cave and carefully cultivated many evil spiritual plants. On this day, when he was feeding the fragrant meat branch and the ghost tumor demon wood with flesh and blood, suddenly, his spiritual consciousness moved slightly. The big meat ball next to him also felt something, and the fur on the surface of the ball opened, revealing a strange mouth inside, and a strong bloody smell spread throughout the cave. Then, it rushed out of the cave with an agility that was not in line with its size, and sucked hard towards a small hill outside the cave. A semi-virtual skin bag floated out of the small hill. The skin bag was as thin as a cicada's wing, blending in with the surrounding environment, and was extremely inconspicuous. It seemed to have a high level of intelligence. It realized that it was in a bad situation, and the originally retractable skin bag suddenly opened and flew away as fast as lightning. The flesh spirit god jumped hard on the ground, and a blood cloud flew out of its body, chasing after the transparent skin bag at a faster speed. The skin bag was covered by the blood cloud, and its speed became slower and slower. There were blood stains everywhere, and finally it completely sank into the blood cloud. The big meatball flew outside the blood cloud and sucked hard. The skin bag became muddy and dull, and was sucked into the meatball. Pah. What a thing. There is no blood or flesh at all. In Lu Xuan's mind, the translucent skin bag was spit out by the flesh spirit god again, and a thought came over with a curse. Ha ha ha. Lu Xuan couldn't help but laugh. A deep river appeared around him, wrapping him up, and bringing him to the transparent leather bag. He then brought the dying leather bag back to the cave. Chapter 771 I hate spying on me the most. Back in the courtyard, with the protection of 2 5-grade formations, Lu Xuan relaxed a little. With a thought, several golden spirit thunders shot out from his body and moved flexibly around his body. Then, he took out the languid illusory skin. The skin felt a little free and was about to fight back, but immediately realized that the spirit thunders of the evil spirits had a natural restraint on it and immediately became obedient and motionless. Hiding outside the cave and spying, it is obvious that he has no good intentions. Lu Xuan frowned slightly, looking at the strange skin in front of him that was changing from real to virtual, and thought to himself. With a thought, a wisp of pure yin energy forcibly penetrated into the skin. With his mind focused on it, he immediately learned detailed information about the skin. The skin of the alien corpse is an evil thing, with a strength equivalent to that of a perfect foundation building cultivator. It was made by Jade Face Immortal by collecting the skins of thousands of cultivators and refining them with evil methods. It has a very strong concealment ability, and it is difficult for ordinary giant and cultivators to detect. Will invisibly possess the target, corrode the soul, and occupy the body. The shed skin of a strange corpse. Lu Xuan muttered to himself. The evil creature in front of him has a secretive whereabouts and a strong ability to hide. If he had not had the spiritual consciousness of the middle stage of the Jinden, and had not been nourished for a long time by the 5th grade strange treasure Yunshanti, and had not taken a variety of spiritual fruits and treasures that increase spiritual consciousness, he would not necessarily have noticed its existence. Jade-faced immortal, an old acquaintance, isn't it the evil cultivator who came to visit when I just moved here? The figure of a cultivator with a false smile appeared in Lu Xuan's mind. Putting such an evil thing outside my cave is not a good neighbor. He raised the corners of his mouth and laughed coldly when he thought of the skin bag in front of him that had been spying on him near the cave, and there was a risk of occupying his incarnation. He suddenly became angry. Lu hates being watched the most in my life. He snorted coldly, and as his mind moved, an evil grey-white eye silently emerged from the crack in the sky and quickly swam away. Let's take a look at the background of the jade-faced immortal first. After a moment, the void nightmare eye found the jade-faced immortal's cave. Lu Xuan felt a slight itch in his palm, and a crack appeared out of thin air. Then a grey-white eye quickly emerged and shared the view seen by the void nightmare eye with him. The void nightmare eye is a 5th grade exotic treasure, and its concealment ability is far stronger than that of the strange corpse skin. Lu Xuan also deliberately controlled its distance to avoid being noticed by the jade-faced immortal. The cave where the evil cultivator was located was filled with yin energy, and there was only a 4th grade illusion array for protection. The interior of the cave was seen by the void nightmare eye, who was proficient in illusion, and he saw it thoroughly. 4th grade illusion array, it's not fat enough. Lu Xuan sighed in his heart. The cave he opened up in Fingyuan Star Cave was protected by 2 5th grade formations, not to mention the 6th grade Wan's Hangzhou and Jing formation in Lihuo Star Cave. It was reasonable for him to look down on this 4th grade illusion formation. However, he also understood everything he saw. Most of the people living in Xiangxing Cave were casual cultivators. It was already quite good to have 5th grade skills and magic tools that matched their own cultivation. Few cultivators had the spare energy to set up high-level formations outside the cave. Here they come. The next day, in the vision of the void nightmare eye, a 3-foot dwarf appeared outside the cave of Jade-face Immortal with a sword light. The dwarf had an extremely large head, atrophied limbs, and was soft, as if it had no bones. He looked around with a cold look, and after not finding anything unusual, he entered the cave with ease. Dao Li, welcome. Jade-face Immortal greeted him with a fake smile. Dao Yumian. The dwarf cultivator nodded gently. The two sat in the courtyard and chatted quietly. The void nightmare eyes were floating in the sky thousands of feet high, appearing and disappearing, silently. Fellow Daoist Jadeface, you have been monitoring fellow Daoist Link for such a long time. Have you found anything? The two chatted for a while, and the dwarf asked the Jadeface Immortal. They each had sufficient confidence in their own strength, and since they were in the cave, they did not deliberately cover up their words and deeds. They never expected that there was a strange treasure collected from the outer demons in the sky above their heads, quietly spying. I didn't find much. I don't know if that Lingu was cautious or really practicing the skills. I didn't see him leave the cave. There is an evil spirit of unknown origin that often comes out of the cave and enters the secret realm of the filthy sheep mountain to hunt monsters. I sent my skin to secretly follow it. The strength of the evil spirit is not to be underestimated. It is estimated to be stronger than most of the perfect foundation building cultivators. The Jade-face Immortal said slowly. To be able to set up a 5th grade formation outside the cave with the strength of the early stage of Jinden, either his origin is extraordinary, or he has a great secret. The dwarf monk said softly. His tone was cold, and a chill could not help but appear on the surface, as if a poisonous snake was watching him closely in the dark. No matter which one it is, it means a big fat sheep. The two smiled at each other, and everything was self-evident. Fingyuan Star Cave is indeed a place full of evil cultivators. The two neighbors I met casually had the idea of slaughtering me as a fat sheep. Lu Xuan, who was more than 200 miles away, shook his head secretly. Such evil trends are righteous cultivators. We should encourage them. He looked at the two evil cultivators in the grey eyes of his palm, as if he was looking at high quality fertilizer. My neighbors store grain, and I store guns. My neighbors are my granary. with a thought. His original body, together with his incarnation, took the flesh spirit and flew quickly to the Jade Face Immortal's cave. Fellow Daoist Jade Face, you have left your skin there for so long. Aren't you afraid that Lingu will find out? The dwarf monk suddenly asked as they were talking. Fellow Daoist Lee, please rest assured that my skin has a very strong ability to hide. Even a cultivator in the middle or late giant stage would find it difficult to detect, let alone a cultivator in the early giant stage. A smile appeared on the face of the Jade Face Immortal, who was confident in the evil creature he had refined. Fellow Daoist Lee is here. I will go and communicate with the alien corpse skin. If the time is right, we can go to the cave together. See what secrets the mysterious Lingu is hiding. The Jade Face Immortal laughed loudly, with the corners of his mouth pulled below his ears. Then, he closed his eyes and sank into the depths of his sea of consciousness. Oh no. He suddenly opened his eyes half puzzled and half shocked. Has there been any changes? Seeing this, the dwarf monk looked solemn, and the two tentacles under his shoulders moved without wind, floating in the low air, looking ready to go. I can't sense the breath of the skin bag. Normally, the skin of the alien corpse is connected to my mind, so this situation will not happen. The skin bag has a great relationship with my soul. Once it is destroyed, I will be the first to notice it. If it is just unable to communicate, it means that the skin of the alien corpse has been completely controlled by others. Jade Face Immortal said this, and a bad thought came to his mind. Two Taoist friends, I found a skin bag running around outside the cave, but you two Taoist friends accidentally left it behind. Suddenly, a hoarse voice came into the ears of the two. Chapter 772, having a lot of treasures means you can do whatever you want. Hearing this hoarse voice, the two looked at each other and walked out of the cave. Fellow Daoist Lingu, a rare guest, please come in quickly. Jade Face Immortal glanced at the limp corpse skin in the hands of the monk opposite him and said with a fake smile. Fellow Daoist, you are too polite. Ling came here not to visit you, but just to confirm whether this evil thing in my hand is something you left behind. Lingu said in a deep voice, without any intention of entering the Jade Face Immortal's cave. 10 miles away, Xuan activated the King Fui feather cloth on his body and secretly controlled the words and actions of his incarnation. What is this skin bag? This is the first time I have seen it. Has fellow Daoist Lee seen it? Jade Face Immortal first denied it, and then turned to the dwarf monk next to him and asked. This is also the first time I have seen it. Perhaps it is an evil spirit that ran out from the depths of the Dirty Sheep Mountain and lurked near our cave. The dwarf monk was calm and denied it as well. The two did not know what Lingu's intention was, so they pretended to be ignorant and waited for the next development. Really? Since it is not something left by the two Taoist friends, Ling is relieved. Such evil things are spying on us outside the cave. It will be a disaster if they are kept. Let's just destroy them to eliminate future troubles. He looked at the illusory skin bag in his hand, and a trace of ruthlessness appeared on his face. Wait. Jade Face Immortal stopped him. Fellow Daoist Ling, judging from the appearance of this skin bag, it should be able to help me practice a secret method. Why don't you do me a favor and give it to me? If the secret method is successful, I will definitely thank you. He asked Lingu with a fake smile. This evil is cunning and difficult to detect. I'm afraid that, if I leave it, you will not be able to control it. Lingu said coldly. Before he finished speaking, a deep river appeared in front of him. The river seemed to come from the depths of the underworld, and countless resentful souls were floating in it. It was a secret method in the netherworld, true water forbidden method that he practiced. The incarnation of the body of the yin spirit, the practice of this kind of skills progressed rapidly, and he had already mastered some simple secrets of the superior evil skills. The river seemed to have consciousness, and it circled around the illusory skin in his hand. Suddenly, the alien corpse skin melted automatically, and in an instant it completely turned into nothingness. Good. The Jade Face Immortal felt the soul tearing from the depths of the sea of consciousness. His facial features bulged, and grey and black thin tubes appeared on his face. I saw that you are a neighbor, so I gave you a little face to let you down, but you still want to destroy the skin I got with great difficulty. He was in pain both physically and mentally at this moment, and the pain in his heart was even stronger. You know, the conditions for refining an alien corpse skin are extremely tricky and complicated. He collected it for many years before he succeeded in refining it by chance. He didn't expect that it would be easily destroyed by the early giant and cultivator in front of him. Doyle, take action. The secrets on him can be found by searching his soul. He passed a thought to the dwarf monk next to him, and then a dark crack appeared on his chest, and hundreds of thousands of white skin bags flew out of the crack, wrapping the 3 people inside. The dwarf monk knew that this was a rare opportunity, and he also had the intention to kill. The monk in front of him rarely left the cave, and without the protection of the 5th grade formation, it would be much easier to deal with him. 2 mid-stage giant and monks joined forces to deal with an early-stage giant and monk, which was a sure thing. As for the evil secret technique displayed by Lingu, no matter how powerful it was, it could not make up for the huge gap in their cultivation. Thinking of this, he opened his mouth and spit out a strange snake with gusts of evil wind, which struck Lingu in the face. At the same time, his body continued to expand, and his shrunken limbs spread rapidly, reaching the sky and the ground, instantly forming a forest of tentacles. Facing the siege of 2 mid-stage giant and monks, Lingu was calm. An ancient picture appeared silently in front of him, and spread out in an instant. A female ghost in white clothes whose face could not be seen clearly flew out of it. She sighed, and a breath of extreme resentment and sadness spread. Whether it was the skin bag released by the jade face immortal, or the tentacles and strange snakes used by the dwarf, they seemed to have lost their fighting spirit all of a sudden, and their speed of attacking Lingu became much slower. 6th grade treasure. The 2 people noticed the extraordinary features of the ghost sorrow strange picture, and exclaimed at the same time. Their hearts instantly became extremely hot. This early giant and cultivator in front of them actually had such a rare treasure. Where else can such a great opportunity be found? After the incarnation, Lingu activated the 6th grade ghost sorrow strange picture. His expression remained unchanged, and he took out a grey-white jade bottle. He gently poured it down, and the rich evil spirit surged out, churning endlessly, and quickly occupied a piece of heaven and earth with the cave as the center. In the endless evil spirit, the jade face immortal and the other person couldn't help but tremble, and their minds were almost lost in it. A strange figure with more than 10 dark blue arms silently merged into the evil spirit, turning into a trail of after images, and grabbing the black snake trapped in the evil spirit quagmire, tearing it apart easily. Then, it quickly rushed towards the 2 evil cultivators whose bodies and souls were invaded by the evil spirit. Why does this guy have so many high-level treasures? Doyle, go all out, and get rid of this guy, as soon as possible. Jade face immortal looked at the strange treasures taken out by the incarnation Lingu, and felt a little uneasy in his heart, and sent a message to the dwarf monk in the evil spirit. Okay. The dwarf monk nodded quickly, and his spiritual power surged all over his body. His head kept expanding and growing hideous tumors. The tumors fell off quickly, and with a long black tail, he rushed out of the evil spirit, and attacked the incarnation Lingu from all directions. At the same time, a large human skin net flew out of the jade face immortal's body, and wrapped up the multi-armed corpse slave. His flesh and blood kept shrinking, and in an instant, only a colorful skin bag was left. There were countless ghost faces on the skin, wailing silently, with resentment rising to the sky, isolating the evil spirit from the body. Then, the gorgeous skin grew rapidly, and in the blink of an eye it was hundreds of feet high. A light and sinister hand fell from the sky, covering the incarnation Lingu. Die. Lu Xuan hid in the dark, smiling slightly in his heart. Do you think these are all I have? Sorry, with so many treasures, I can really do whatever I want, he thought, and a surge of deep spring water gushed out around the incarnation to protect it. At the same time, a bloodlight shot out, as if carrying all the filthy power in the world, rolling towards the countless tumorous heads flying over. It was the blood nerve that had achieved some success. In the bloodlight, another majestic Buddha statue suppressed it. The Buddha statue held various Buddhist instruments in his hands, with a majestic expression, and stepped on countless demons and evil spirits, as if he wanted to wipe out all the evil in the world. It was the 6th grade Vajra statue of the prison suppression. With the help of numerous 5th and 6th grade treasures and high-level techniques, a single incarnation could easily defeat 2 evil cultivators working together. Chapter 773 Natural Fertilizer. After the appearance of the Vajra statue of hell, the two evil cultivators who had reached the Giant stage were naturally restrained, like mice hitting a cat. The power of the magic tools and secret techniques they mastered was greatly reduced. After a few encounters, the two were in danger. Seeing this, the colorful skin in the air knew that his life would be in danger if he was not careful, and a sharp whistle came out of his mouth. The sound waves rolled over, and the many skins on the ground seemed to be greatly stimulated. The surface oozed white and unpleasant corpse fluid, and they attacked the incarnation Lingu like moths to a flame. Lingu looked at the many evil skins that were overwhelming, and was unmoved. He circulated the spiritual power in his body, and the blood light was like a big river, rushing towards the evil skins. A big meatball appeared quietly and silently on the battlefield, with fur all over his body, and blood arrows shot out. Once the skin is stained with blood arrows, it will instantly become dark and dull, and its spirituality will be greatly damaged. Blood, nerve and flesh spirit god are quite compatible. Lu Xuan stood quietly not far from the Jade Face Immortal's cave, observing the battle through the pupil of his palm, and sighed secretly. While sighing, he found that the dwarf monk had moved again. It seemed that the powerful magical treasures used by the incarnation Lingu one after another made him aware of the danger, and he had the idea of retreating. He spurted out a mouthful of blood, which relieved the sorrow in his body. His body spread and stretched rapidly, and his limbs shrank to form two pairs of flesh wings, like a strange big snake with a human head and a snake body. He turned into a black light, and broke through the obstruction of the multi-armed corpse slave. Still want to escape? You can't fly, even if you have wings. Lu Xuan snorted in his heart, and his mind moved, and the silver white thunder wings emerged from his ribs. The lightning arcs on the wings kept jumping, and they spread lightly, and a slight thunder sounded. He turned into a silver white lightning light, and shuttled through the air, facing the dwarf monk who was fleeing in a panic. The dwarf monk flew dozens of miles away in a few breaths. He scanned the surroundings with his spiritual sense, and confirmed that there was nothing unusual. He relaxed a little, and continued to use the secret technique to escape quickly. Fortunately, that person didn't care about himself, so he was lucky enough to save his life. At this moment, he thought with lingering fear. He thought that it would be very easy to join forces with Jade Face Immortal to deal with a monk who was only in the early stage of Giandan, and had a secret. The fact was as expected by the two of them. The monk did have a secret, but it was not something they could bear. 6th grade treasures, top grade skills and magical powers, and that fierce and strange puppet. What is the origin of that guy? He actually has so many rare skills and treasures. No, after escaping, I must find someone to deal with him, and divide up the rare treasures on him. He thought fiercely in his heart. Another mouthful of blood spurted out, nourishing the two pairs of flesh wings, and the speed that was originally as fast as lightning increased again. He had a strong hatred for Lingu. In this robbery, he not only did not gain anything, but also lost a lot of evil creatures that he had carefully cultivated. He also used secret methods to escape, which consumed his own essence. It would take a long time to recover. Therefore, as long as he escaped successfully, he would definitely find a way to deal with Lingu. As he was thinking, suddenly, a silver white light appeared in the distance. Like a thunder explosion, a young monk with a silver white feathered wing appeared in front of him in an instant. The dwarf monk did not slow down, and went around from the other side. Unexpectedly, the man followed closely behind, occasionally spreading his silver white wings, looking very relaxed. Fellow Daoist, what are you doing following me? He looked at the silver white wings that were constantly flowing with spiritual light, pretended to be calm, and sent a voice message to Lu Xuan. Nothing, just seeing this kind of evil cultivator for the first time, I'm a little curious. Lu Xuan chuckled. Hearing this, the dwarf monk couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. I came across a high-level demon beast by chance, and that's why I accidentally got into this situation. Fellow Daoist, there's no need to mock me. See you later. He sent a message to Lu Xuan, and then took the initiative to avoid him. Ha ha ha. Lu Xuan couldn't help laughing. In the dwarf monk's look of doubt, he reached out and wiped his face, revealing an appearance exactly the same as the incarnation Lingu. The high-level demon beast you are talking about looks like this? You. The dwarf monk was horrified and didn't care about anything else. His body quickly shrank, as if all his flesh and blood were absorbed by an unknown existence. Then, he opened his mouth and spit out a blood blade that flew in front of Lu Xuan with a whoosh. The blood light was thick, and his mind was instantly lost in it. The misty and clear air coming from the king furry feather clothes made Lu Xuan regain clarity in an instant. He was not afraid at all, and 2 fingers appeared red light, directly clamping the blood blade. There seemed to be a shadow of a glazed red phoenix flashing on the finger, and then, red flames automatically gushed out of the surface of the blood blade, burning silently. Ah! This blood blade was a secret treasure that the dwarf monk occasionally obtained. He had been keeping it in his body for sacrifice and refining, and it was connected with his mind. At this moment, it was burned by the glazed red phoenix skyfire, which made him feel infinite pain in an instant and wailed continuously. Lu Xuan's expression did not change, and he gently snapped his fingers with his other hand. A ray of golden dazzling spiritual lightning appeared out of thin air and circled around the strange long snake. The human-headed snake body continued to crack and quickly turned into black ash. A green light drilled out of the dwarf monk's head and fled quickly. After escaping for only a few miles, a black and white chain drilled out of the void, hooked the dwarf monk's soul, and sent it into an evil lantern in front of Lu Xuan. The incarnation Lingu drove a blood cloud and landed not far from Lu Xuan together with the flesh spirit god. The black and white chain was the soul binding secret method in the 6th grade soul binding sutra, which had a great restraining effect on those ghosts. Even the soul of a giant and Zenran could not break free from the black and white chain. Of course, this was also closely related to the fact that the dwarf monk's soul was severely damaged. Have they all been cleaned up? Lu Xuan asked, looking at the bloody tentacles piled up into a small mountain in the blood cloud, the fixed skin bags, and the colorful skin bags tightly attached to the surface of the big meatball and licked by its many strange mouths. Yes. The incarnation Lingu replied hoarsely. Under Lu Xuan's order, he did not kill the jade face Zenran directly, but together with the flesh spirit god, captured the other party alive, hooked out his soul, and left many evil skin bags. Lu Xuan nodded gently, and the prison King Kong statue continued to shrink, turning into a fist-sized blue-black Buddha statue, which fell into his hand. The incarnation Lingu has practiced many high-level evil skills and magical powers, and has mastered treasures such as multi-armed corpse slaves and ghost sorrow strange picture, but he is facing 2 mid-stage giant and cultivators after all. Lu Xuan is worried that he can't quickly deal with the 2, so he gives him the prison King Kong statue. With this Buddhist treasure that restrains demons and evil spirits, it is obviously much easier to deal with them. Thank you to Taoist friends for the natural fertilizer. It's really a good neighbor of Fingyu and Star Cave. Lu Xuan raised the soul guiding lamp and smiled at the 2 giant and ghosts in the candle. Chapter 774, A Ruthless Man. The 2 evil cultivators left a lot of fertilizer for Lu Xuan, which was of high quality and rich in variety, and could nourish and cultivate many evil spirit plants for a long time. Although the many skins differentiated by the Jade Face Immortal did not have much flesh and bones, they could fully cultivate the 6th grade corpse skin to maturity, and even more than enough. The large amount of flesh and blood tentacles left by the dwarf monk could be used to feed the flesh spirit god, and nourish the evil spirit plants such as the fragrant meat branch, the evil tree demon, the demon tree, the demon wood, and the demon tree. This was the flesh and blood of the giant and cultivator, which was rich in nutrients. It could be said that it was difficult to find a better fertilizer than this. There were also 2 souls, and the incarnation Lingu could also use the secret method in the ghost raising technique, to sacrifice and refine them into ghosts, and use them to cultivate the ghost-eating evil vine. The only pity is that there is not much blood and bones. The Jade Face Immortal only had a skin, and the flesh and blood tentacles transformed by the dwarf monk did not dig out many bones, which made Lu Xuan feel a little regretful. The last time I came to Fingyu and Star Cave, I heard from the key training ghost cultivator that there is a force called the White Bone Palace on the 5th floor. He couldn't help but have unrealistic thoughts in his mind. But, how can you have the dangerous idea of treating the evil cultivators of the giant and realm as fertilizer? You know, every evil cultivator who has cultivated to the giant and realm will master unique skills and magical powers, and cannot be easily dealt with. Lu Xuan chanted a Buddhist name to suppress the delusion in his heart. Of course, if the fertilizer comes to the door, there is no reason to refuse it. He sighed secretly. Although he is keen on cultivating spiritual plants and tries not to fight with others, it does not mean that he can let others bully him at will. As long as he is absolutely sure, if the opportunity is right, he will take the initiative to attack and kill the danger in advance. For example, this time, after he found that the Jade Face Immortal was spying on the incarnation, he took the initiative to find the other party's cave and found that the two had unfavorable thoughts about the incarnation. So he took the initiative to go to the door and supplement the nutrition of the evil spiritual plants in the cave. I just want to plant the field quietly, why bother me? He sighed as he looked at the many fertilizers in the blood cloud. After dealing with the two evil cultivators, he began to plunder the two people's possessions. With a move of his spiritual consciousness, two grey-black storage bags floated in front of him. Xuan forcibly broke the simple restrictions on the storage bags and placed the treasures inside and the spoils he had obtained earlier. 200,000 low-grade spirit stones are barely worthy of the identity of a cultivator in the middle stage of Jinden. He muttered as his spiritual consciousness swept over a pile of medium-grade and low-grade spirit stones like a small mountain. There were a total of 5 5th-grade treasures, the best of which was a large human skin net obtained from the jade-faced true man and a broken blood blade of the dwarf cultivator. The remaining 3 were relatively ordinary, but they could also be exchanged for a lot of spirit stones. In addition, there were only some talismans and elixirs left, all of which were ordinary goods. Xuan, whose vision had long become extremely picky, naturally looked down on them. He collected many treasures and quietly returned to the cave with his incarnation Lingu. With the protection of the 2 5th-grade formations in the cave, he was completely relaxed. He took out a dark white pill from the storage bag and threw it to the incarnation. The incarnation swallowed the 4th-grade Xuan iron pill without hesitation. The pill dissolved, and a stream of pure yin qi flowed through his body. The incarnation was equivalent to the early stage of the Jinden stage. He successively displayed high-level skills and magical powers such as Blood Nerve and Nether Ultra Water Forbidden Method, and activated rare treasures such as Ghost Sorrow Strange Picture. The spiritual power in his body was almost consumed and needed to be replenished. Taking advantage of the gap, when the incarnation replenished his spiritual power, Xuan lowered his head and thought about the whole process of this fight. After he was promoted to the Jinden stage, he rarely fought with others, so he naturally had to summarize it. With just one incarnation, relying on its skills and treasures, it could barely hold off 2 Jinden true immortals, but it couldn't maintain its combat effectiveness for long due to insufficient spiritual power. As for me, in order to kill the dwarf cultivator this time, I used 3 treasures, the 6th-grade Thunder Wings, the evil killing spirit thunder, and the body, after refining the glazed scarlet phoenix bone. The 6th-grade Thunder Wings, which arrived later than the dwarf cultivator who used the secret method to escape, are obviously faster than the dwarf cultivator who used the secret method to escape. It is worthy of being a treasure refined by the ancient vicious beast Thunder Demon Peng. The evil killing spirit thunder has an obvious restraining effect on evil cultivators, but it's a pity that it is a consumable and the quantity is a little less. Fortunately, there are 30 thunderstorm lotuses planted in the Thunder Mars cave mansion, which should be able to replenish a lot when they mature. Then you can put them here with the incarnation Lingu as a trump card against the many evil cultivators in Fingyu and Star Cave. As an incarnation of an evil cultivator, in order to survive in such an environment full of evil cultivators, it is reasonable for me to prepare more evil killing spirit thunders. The evil killing spirit thunders. The evil killing spirit thunders, isn't it? Xuan thought to himself. As for the 7th-grade glazed dread phoenix bone, he was also extremely satisfied. With just his flesh, he could easily block the dwarf monk's blood blade treasure, and the red fire could consume the blood blade spirituality, which was worthy of the name of a 7th-grade treasure. With all the other treasures on my body, maybe I can compete with the cultivator in the late Jinden period. Xuan guessed secretly in his heart. As for Yuning's engine, he dared not even think about it at the moment, and he did not even have absolute confidence in facing a cultivator in the late Jinden period. After a brief summary, he took a lot of fertilizers into the spiritual field and returned to being an ordinary spiritual planter. Outside the cave, several powerful spiritual consciousnesses swept through in a very obscure way, avoiding the protective formation far away, and finally stopped at the Jade Face Zenran cave more than 200 miles away. Inside the cave, it was a mess, and there were still all kinds of chaotic and evil spirits. Did the Jade-faced Immortal die? I didn't expect that he would be defeated by a cultivator in the early stage of the Giant stage. Does Daoist Wangu know the origin of that person? I only know that his name is Lingu, and he is in the early stage of the Giant stage. He moved to the 5th floor of Fingyuan Star Cave not long ago. He is a bit unkind in his words and deeds. Someone once visited his cave, but he refused to let them in with a few words on the grounds of seclusion. The Jade-faced Immortal and Daoist fellow Liru, two giant cultivators, one died and the other escaped. Daoist fellow Liru's life and death are unknown. Judging from the scene and the traces around, he should have escaped, but later he met a cultivator who mastered the secret method of spiritual thunder. I don't know if it was invited by Lingu, or he just happened to pass by. In any case, it shows that Daoist fellow Lingu is not ordinary, has sophisticated means, and is cruel. That's true. We should try our best to establish a good relationship with him, and don't cause any unpleasant things. That's very true. Several spiritual consciousnesses communicated obscurely, and they all sighed at the powerful and cruel incarnation of Lingu. Facing two evil cultivators with higher cultivation than himself, he killed them with thunder and lightning, just because they had bad intentions. This is really not to be underestimated. Just like this, Xuan had only established his cave residence in Fingyuan Star Cave for a short time, and his incarnation Lingu had already gained a great reputation, embarking on a completely different path from the ordinary spiritual plant masters in Lihuo Star Cave. Chapter 775, Making Good Friends. Xuan had his own plans for the incarnation Lingu. In terms of dealing with people, he did not let the incarnation be as cautious as the original body. In a world like Fingyuan Star Cave, where evil cultivators are everywhere, if he continues to maintain a cautious style, it will attract the covetousness of evil cultivators. Therefore, he must show his ruthless and tough side more often when necessary, so that he can survive better in Fingyuan Star Cave. At the same time, if the opportunity is right, he also plans to let the incarnation explore the secret realm for him, and compete for opportunities and treasures. After all, it is still a low probability event to buy spiritual seeds from other cultivators at a high price, and you can only rely on luck. If there is an incarnation, you can specifically seek certain treasures instead of staying in the cave and waiting for others to deliver the treasures to the door. The incarnation Lingu is strong enough and has many treasures to protect his body, so he can deal with most secret realms. If he unfortunately falls in the secret realm, it will not hurt Xuan at all. In the next period of time, Xuan stayed in the cave of Huang Mountain and cultivated many evil spiritual plants with peace of mind. At the same time, he also trained his avatar well, so that he could better deal with various situations. After dealing with all this, he quietly returned to the Thunder Mars cave. As soon as he arrived outside the cave, Xuan saw a silver-haired female cultivator waiting outside the formation. The female cultivator had a fierce look on her face, with her silver hair flying wildly in the air. She sensed Xuan's aura from afar and smiled slightly. It was Xuan who was also in the Thunder Mars cave. They were in the middle stage of the Giant stage. They had entered the Blackwater Star Cave together and visited each other occasionally, so they had a certain friendship. Daoii. Xuan saw the silver-haired female cultivator and hurriedly went to greet her. Daoii Lu, you are finally back. Daoii didn't wait long, did you? Please come in quickly. Hearing this, Xuan hurriedly opened the 10,000 barriers mysterious crystal array and welcomed Xuan into the cave. I've been waiting for less than a day, but it's rare that Daoii Lu is not in the cave. Xuan's voice was cold, like ice cold spring water. Haha, it's rare for me to leave the cave. Xuan laughed. I went to Fingyuan Star Cave this time, just to collect materials needed for the growth of a spiritual plant, and ventured into a secret realm. He made up a story. Fingyuan Star Cave? There are evil cultivators everywhere there. Did you encounter any danger, fellow Daoist Lu? Xuan asked. Thank you for your concern, fellow Daoist Yi. I have always been cautious. When searching for treasures, I tried my best to avoid evil cultivators and evil spirits. I didn't enter the depths of Fingyuan's Star Cave, so I came back safely. By the way, fellow Daoist Yi came to find me. What's the matter? Lu Xuan explained briefly, and changed the subject. Nothing, I just had a drinking bug these days, and I wanted to buy some high quality spiritual wine from you, fellow Daoist Lu. Yi Xuan recalled the several kinds of spiritual wine brewed by Lu Xuan, and his eyes lit up slightly. Fellow Daoist Yi, you are too polite. If you want to drink spirit wine, just tell me directly. There is no need to say bye. Lu Xuan waved his hand and said, I appreciate your kindness, but the spirit wine you brew is not ordinary. I don't know how much of your resources, time, and energy you have spent. It's enough to come here occasionally to have a drink. How can I ask you for it for nothing? Yi Xuan said slowly. Lu Xuan couldn't refuse, so he nodded in agreement. Okay, then let's do as you say. However, you come here to buy spirit wine, because you think highly of me. Whether it is jade washing spirit dew or ice marrow spirit wine, both are sold at 70% off the market price. What do you think? He proposed a compromise. Okay, thank you very much, fellow Daoist Lu. Yi Xuan nodded helplessly, and accepted Lu Xuan's favor. She took 3 bottles of spirit wine from Lu Xuan, namely 100 fruit spirit juice, jade washing spirit dew and ice marrow spirit wine. Lu Xuan would usually brew these 3 kinds of wine when he had nothing to do. He had also absorbed the experience package of spirit brewing formula, so the success rate of brewing was extremely high and the reserves were abundant. As for the 5th grade 8 demon wine, Lu Xuan had little left, so he did not sell it to Yi Xuan. The 6th grade Willow Fairy Dew from the Willow Light group in the pure bottle was far from enough for his own use, let alone to give to others. The two chatted for a while, and Yi Xuan said goodbye to him. Lu Xuan sent her out of the cave, watched her figure disappear into the sky, and then turned to enter the formation. In the spare time of cultivating spirit plants on weekdays, he would occasionally go to meet with other cultivators, make friends, and create an identity of a kind and generous spirit plant master. The purpose is naturally to seek high-level spirit seeds. The more kind and real people you get to know, the greater the possibility of obtaining rare spirit seeds. In a sense, they are exploring the secret realm on behalf of Lu Xuan. The treasures he paid were just to better implement the spirit plant master's personality to the end. There will always be giant and cultivators who will get high-level spiritual seeds, but as long as they get the spiritual seeds, whether they want to sell them or entrust spiritual plant masters to cultivate them, as long as the first figure that comes to their mind is Lu Xuan, it is enough. Lu Xuan thought to himself and came to the spiritual field to check the growth of each spiritual plant. After entering Fingyuan's Star Cave for a while, the spiritual plants have more or less some needs. What he can do is to try his best to meet each spiritual plant and let them get the best cultivation conditions. He first came to the spiritual field where more than 100 ice fireflies were planted. The spiritual power moved slightly, and strands of spiritual rain fell from the sky and penetrated into the blue and slender leaves. Under the influence of the cold air emitted by the ice fireflies, the spiritual rain turned into mist when it fell, like a dream. These ice fireflies are the key to Lu Xuan's improvement of cultivation, so they naturally have to be taken care of carefully. He strolled in the spiritual fields along the lake, harvesting a large number of low-grade spiritual fruits such as fiery fruit and ice wisteria fruit, as well as hundreds of white light balls. However, the light ball rewards were almost negligible, and it was difficult to even enter the grocery store. Hey, the thunderstorm lotus is ripe. Lu Xuan came to another spiritual field area and unexpectedly found that a small part of the 30 thunderstorm lotuses he had planted before had fully matured. At that time, in order to collect as many evil-killing spiritual thunders as possible, he bought 30 thunderstorm lotus spirit seeds from the branch building of the Chamber of Commerce. Unknowingly, these spiritual plants had bloomed silver white lotus flowers, on which there were silver white lotus seeds with lightning flashes flowing, and lightning arcs fell from the petals like a small thunder waterfall. Lu Xuan's mind was concentrated on each thunderstorm lotus. Some of them were only a hair's breadth away from being fully mature, so he simply used the King Mu Yuan key to ripen them, so that he could harvest the light ball rewards together. After a while, all 30 thunderstorm lotuses were ripe, and silver white lightning flashes were all over the spiritual field, as if a little spark could cause thunder vibrations. After he carefully plucked the seeds of the thunderstorm lotus, white balls of light quietly appeared on the lotus. Xuan smiled slightly, and his figure passed by like floating light, touching the surface of all the balls of light almost at the same time. In an instant, 30 balls of light shattered silently, bursting into tiny light spots all over the sky, reflecting the silver white lightning in the spiritual field on the ground. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.